right. Yeah, you guys, you know what time it is. You rocking with the most poppin' Knicks YouTube channel on the net. I am the objective fan, straight out of Kings County, New York City's finest. And you know the vibes, y'all. Man, we got an action-packed show for you guys tonight. A lot of you guys have been waiting a long time for this topic. The great uh, question that Knicks fans always think about, especially if you go back to the 90s, right? Will Patrick Ewing, what was his legacy like? In fact, in terms of him not winning the championship, right? Was it a misfortune or was it mismanagement? So we got an action-packed show for you guys. You guys are in the right place. And you know, we sorry for our tardiness, had a little bit of technical difficulties, but I got my two esteemed panelists on this show with me. I could not do this show without these brothers, and I'm very, very excited to see these guys. I'm gonna start with one of the guys just right now. So, me and this brother, we connected on TikTok. He has a really great YouTube platform, right? And it's called Still Knicks Fans. He reached out to me on TikTok. I reached back, and we've been in each other's comments and each other's shows. And this brother has a really good channel, and we decided to do a two collabos. I'm gonna go on his channel. He's on my channel tonight for this topic. So, and let me tell you something. He has an interview with Alan Hahn that is incredible. And so, right after this show, you need to go to his channel, subscribe, and you can learn more about it. But I'm gonna introduce the brother. All right, his name is Ron from Still Knicks Fans in the building. Let me just pull him up. Pow. Oh, got Trav. Get Trav out the way. Trying to get Ron up. Technical difficulties, guys. Work with me. I'm trying to get him up. I don't know why he's not popping up. But I'll start with Trav then. I also got a brother here, my friend Trav. We've been rocking out a long time. I'm gonna get Ron up in a second, y'all. But Trav, he's been a long time friend of mine. We've been taught, we connected on different platforms. But I remember a couple of years ago, Trav decided that he wanted to do his own platform and talk sports. So and here he is. He has a platform called Big Dog Talk Sports, and he's in the building. And the key thing about him, his channel is not a Knicks channel, but he is a fan of the Knicks back in the 90s. So I'd like to also introduce Big Dog Talk Sports, my man Trav in the building. Let the people know who you are as I try to get Ron up in the building.
Hey, what's good? It's Big Dog Talk Sports, man. Shout out to the objective Knicks fans. Shout out to all y'all Knicks fans out there. I'm not a Knicks fan, but I was a big fan of the Knicks in the 90s with Patrick Ewing and all them boys, man. And I like where the Knicks going now, so salute to y'all, man. Y'all got a lot to cheer for, a lot to be happy about. And let's get it, man.
All right.
Maxine?
Yeah, you see Maxine in the building, right? Yeah, we definitely got an action-packed show. I'm just trying to get my man in the. Okay, I think I got him. Wait, hold on. Wait, I lost Trav. Hold on. Sorry, yeah, technical difficulties. I'm using a different platform, and I'm trying to get these brothers on the screen. So I got Trav back. Hold on. Let me get Ron. Let's see. Still Knicks fans. It's like a glitch where I can't click on his name, but I'm gonna figure it out. Let's see. Wow. This is kind of crazy. No, it's not nothing you're doing, Ron. It's just not allowing me to click your name to get him up. I see him in the back. Hold on. Give me 2 seconds, y'all, as I work through this. Salute to the chat, though. Salute the coach in the building, all the minds in the building. Yeah, man. As soon as I get Ron up, he will be in the building. Hold on, let me see if I hide myself.
It is my show now, y'all. No, I'm just playing. I'm going to take over the show, y'all. This Big Dog Talk Sports. And, we're going to talk about Patrick Ewing, Knicks legacy, man. Was it Mismanagement or Misfortune? It's my show now. Now we wait for them to get on, man. We have some technical difficulties, y'all. But we're gonna get it rocking. I know we're gonna be talking about Patrick Ewing in the '90s Knicks, y'all, but how far y'all think y'all Knicks going this year? Now I know y'all gonna want to say the championship, but do y'all really believe y'all gonna win the championship this year?
Okay, I think I'm good. Let me add Ron. Okay, I had to do some finagling to get to get us on the stream, y'all. Sorry about the technical difficulties, Ron.
Hey, can
There
you
he
hear me?
goes. Yes, we can definitely hear you.
Oh, okay.
Definitely can hear you.
All right, we
So,
good.
so yes. I gave you a nice introduction, and then this happens. But let the people know a little bit about who you are and your channel.
Yeah, man. So I am Ron. I am the host, the co-founder of Still Knick Fans with my brother John. Well, he's a brother from another mother, but that's my bro. And basically what we did was we decided to come together and have the same conversation we normally have, chopping it up because we're Knick fans and friends. And so we said let's just bring it to the platforms on YouTube and share it with other people and then get to know other people as well. So it's been pretty dope. I've been enjoying it. It's been about 3.5 to 4 years going, and we are growing and supporting a great Knicks community as well as getting that same support back. It's been fantastic.
Fantastic, y'all. So listen, before we get this party started, I definitely want to take the time to talk about some of Ewing's accomplishments. Some of you guys, well, I'm pretty sure a lot of us who go back to the '90s definitely will remember Ewing and all the things he did. But I want to touch on this because as I was trying to do some research, trying to like really, bring the best questions out of you guys, I wanted to really reflect on some of the things that he actually accomplished because we get caught up on the fact that he didn't win the championship, right? He didn't win the championship, but he did a lot of good things for the franchise and just his individual accolades. He's definitely, I see why he's top 50, right? So he came out of Georgetown University, right? The cool thing about that, he went to the NCAA championship 3 years out of the 4, right? And he got one against Hakeem Olajuwon, who turned out to be his arch rival in the NBA, as we all know as Knicks fans. '94 finals. We'll probably touch on that a little bit in the future. He was also the most outstanding player in the tournament. And in 2008, ESPN, they designated him as one of the 16th greatest college basketball players of all time, right? Of course, so that led to the great Dave the Butcher, arm pumping. All of us remember that, excitement because the fate of the franchise, was going to change in the right direction. And we knew that it was going to come with Patrick Ewing by them getting that lottery pick, that first pick in the lottery. Of course, he was the rookie of the year. Definitely one of the phenom coming into the league. He was an 11-time All-Star, right? From 1986, he won one. Then from 1988 to 1997, first team, All NBA first team in 1990, 6-time second team All NBA, and 3-time All NBA defensive team. And that's kind of impressive because we all know in the 90s, there was a lot of dogs. I mean, Dave Robinson, Hakeem Olajuwon, Mutombo. It was a lot of dogs on that defensive end, right? What else he did? Now, however, some of the shortcomings that some Knicks detractors, we all love Ewing, but let's keep it real. We really wanted to get those championships. So at times, fans can be critical and they'll say, well, we didn't win the championship. He was never an MVP, never got the Defensive Player of the Award. Of course, never got a Finals MVP because he never won the championship. But at the same time, does that, I think on an individual level, because he was voted to the top 50 team, that, he definitely is worthy of all the praise, even if he didn't win the championship. But this show is going to be about whether or not it was misfortune or mismanagement. So based on some of the accolades I stated, going to the finals twice, all his individual accolades, not really getting us over the hump. I just want to ask you guys to get it started. And you don't have to give your full perspective just yet. I'm curious to know, and I'm going to start with you, Ron. I want to know, in your opinion, when you look at Patrick Ewing's legacy, right? and also 90s Knick legacy. You could add that to the fold. Them falling short of winning the championship, was that due to the fact of mismanagement by the front office, or was it due to just misfortune, bad luck? What's your thoughts on that? If you could give like a brief little summary on that.
Um, it's probably a combination of both of those things. I don't want to say it was necessarily mismanagement on behalf of the front office, but the front office didn't necessarily build the perfect team around Patrick Ewing. They built an incredibly strong defensive team, but offensively, it left a lot to be desired. Like Patrick Ewing had to carry the whole load of the team, and basically, there was some complementary pieces, but Patrick Ewing needed a number two, and he never got a true number two throughout his time period with the Knicks. I don't believe, at least, there was guys that played well, but not someone you could call a number two, not someone you could say would carry the team. If Patrick Ewing, had to be out for a spell. Now, eventually that did happen later, but by that point, they needed Patrick Ewing as well. So that's what couldn't get them over the hump, the Allen Houston days and all that stuff. But then on the other side of it, maybe Patrick Ewing, he didn't have the greatest bedside manner. Maybe he just wasn't the type of player that a lot of guys wanted to play with. As he got older and his career blossomed, a lot of people showed a lot of respect for him. A lot of people like Jordan and all these other guys, definitely said he was one of the greats, and they mentioned that he was a really good player. But at the time when things were heated and hot in the battle, I don't think a lot of people liked Patrick Ewing. So maybe he had a little something to do with it too.
But I need you to lean.
Okay.
I know it. Yes, both can be true, and I'm gonna introduce something interesting, and I want to see you guys' perspective on that. But like, if I had you to lean, like if you could just lean one way or lean the other way, I know it's kind of arguments can be made for both sides. But if you really had to make a decision, which one would you lean towards?
I would probably if I had to lean one way or the other, I'd probably lean towards mismanagement with the organization. I would probably say they could have built a stronger all-around team around him. So yeah, I could say that.
Now, Trav, I'm going to ask you the same question. I'll ask it again if you don't remember. Basically, I want to know, we're talking about Patrick Ewing's legacy, and we're also going to be talking about the Knicks legacy, at least the 90s Knicks for the most part, right? In your definition, the reason why they didn't win the championship, despite the success they did have, Eastern Conference Finals 3 times, NBA Finals 2 times, right? In your opinion, was it misfortune or mismanagement as being the reason why they couldn't win that championship?
Man, I felt like they could have got a second guy for him, which they never really did, like you said, till Allen Houston, which was later. But I also felt like they kept having to run into that guy, out of respect for your channel, the bald head guy. We will not say his name.
Yes, the bald head guy out of Chicago. Yes. Okay.
But I think they could have got him. I hate to make the excuse, but I think they could have got him another scorer. Like Ron said, he never really got another scorer. I don't think John Starks was that good. I mean, he was good, but he wasn't, Allen Houston, in my opinion. And he didn't get Allen Houston until later. Yeah, I think it was mismanagement. I lean more to mismanagement.
You lean more to mismanagement. Okay, perfect. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give you my brief synopsis as we unpack. So in looking back, and I just did a lot of reading. I'm a reader. I like to read my news. I don't watch my news at all. I watch clips, of course, because we're on social media. But I like to read my news because I am the objective fan, the objective Knicks fan, and I don't want to be swayed. There's too many opinions. And so, especially if I'm doing content, I like for my content to really come from a very neutral place. So I want to ask you guys a question about my perspective. I was thinking, because I'm kind of like how Ron said, arguments could be made on both sides. So I decided to say, I'm going to divide Ewing's tenure as a Knick into 2 periods or 2 eras. The first era is pre-Raleigh, right? So that's before Checketts and Grunfield took over the show, and then the Checketts and Grunfield era. Would I be fair to divide that Ewing's career up into that, those proportions? Do you guys think that maybe that will be best? Now, I do want to say in the Raleigh era, I'd say it was definitely mismanagement. Definitely, like definitely mismanagement. And we'll unpack that. And when I look at the Checketts and Grunfield era, I'm gonna say I could make an argument for mismanagement too, and we're going to talk about that. There's some things that they did that was kind of questionable, but I think for the most part, they did a really good job, and I really do think that it was misfortune. I mean, from Charles Smith, and we'll get to that. But what do you guys think? Is that a fair way of dividing this Ewing thing up to try to make it a more? Because what Ron said is very fair. Arguments can be made on both sides. So if I did that, would that make sense? Ron, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. It allows you to unpack it a little better, because the Riley years are kind of tricky. Because even though we're talking about not necessarily winning a championship, those were some good teams, and some teams that other teams feared. So, but still, it wasn't enough to get over the hump. So I think separating the two kind of also allows you to look closer at Patrick Ewing, because he was there for both, and you can see how things look. So I mean, that I think that's fair.
Nope.
I think he might be frozen. Did he freeze? I'm trying to figure out, did I freeze? Now I think I'm okay.
Hey, shout out to Coach Sire. Says Starks would have never been an all-star if he didn't play with Patrick. And a lot of people don't know John Starks wouldn't even made the team if he ain't tried to duck on Patrick Ewing, and Patrick Ewing injured him. Starks wouldn't even have made the team. A lot of people don't know that.
And Starks, listen, man, Starks was a worker. He was packing bags at a grocery store. Like, he got that shot and did the best he could with it. Yeah. So,
I'm back, guys. I'm sorry.
Right,
I missed out on what you guys said. But did you guys agree with me, or?
Oh yeah, I said
I missed that part.
It makes sense to break it up. Go ahead.
And Trav, what did you say? Did you answer that?
I agree. Okay. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so all right. So what would you say? Do you agree also that the 80s was more mismanagement? Like if we had to tip the scales between misfortune and mismanagement, would the 80s be, more mismanagement?
I mean, I mean, it's tough to say, because in the 80s, not outside of maybe mismanagement, also just, the Knicks didn't get a lot of breaks as far as acquiring talent.
Yes.
So it's tough to say, you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. Okay, what about you, Trap? Would you say the 80s, if you remember that way back, would you say the 80s was mismanagement or misfortune? Which one?
It's probably misfortune, because the Pistons was they was dominant. You had the Celtics in 86, arguably the greatest team of all time at that point. Right. So it probably just
MJ emerging.
Yeah.
All right, so since you guys brought up mismanagement in the 80s, right? Or misfortune. What do you think that Rick Pitino falls under that? I'm not sure if you guys remember Rick Pitino. Was to me, I think that, I don't want to say best coach, but I think that if he had more time, they could have probably done more. But the executive, his name was Al Banchi. I can't remember how to pronounce his name, but he was Rick Pitino kind of felt that he wanted George, the Powell coach that they wound up getting later, because he worked with him in Phoenix. So Pitino never was really on board with the front office, and that's probably why he bolted for Kentucky. Do you guys think that that's a misfortune, or do you think that the Knicks front office should have did a better job trying to convince him? Because to me, whatever the coaches they got after him, to me, I didn't think they did that great of a job.
Yeah,
if
Stu
you ask
Jackson.
me. Stu Jackson and hold on, I got the list here.
John McCloud.
Yeah, John McLeod. Yeah, and then Riley. So, and then before him, it was Bob Hill and Hubie Brown. Hubie Brown wasn't bad because he did
Yeah,
take
Hubie
those
was
guys to
okay.
the
Hubie was
playoffs.
all right.
He was okay. So, but what do you guys think about Rick Pitino? What would you say about his departure?
I would say, I mean, I thought Rick Pitino was a good coach. I think at the time, maybe he wanted a little bit more than the organization was ready to give him as far as power. And that clash that happened there, it definitely was the undoing of something that looked pretty good, because the Knicks were not a bad team under Pitino. The first year was a little touch and go there, but it was still relatively calm. It was almost a 500 season, was right underneath it. But then that next season, it was 52-30.
52-30. That's I was gonna get to that.
mean?
Yes. So I don't know. I think that's mismatched. I feel like because the front office, it's kind of like the front office dropping the ball. Like I think with Rowley, we'll talk more about Rowley later. I think that could be more misfortune because the organization couldn't really give him what he wanted for real, right? Like he wanted ownership, he wanted control, front office control, and the Knicks couldn't. The way their organization was set up, it's not like a smaller type of. I'm not gonna say smaller necessarily. I'm gonna say like when he went to Miami, they didn't have the organization structure that New York had, so it was a lot easier to give him his percentage and all the things that he wanted. But in Rick Pitino's case, I just feel like there's some truth to the Al Belanchi not wanting him, not really wanted McLeod and looking for ways to get McLeod there because McLeod did eventually come, which was kind of crazy when you think about it. So, I'm not sure if you guys agree with that, but that would be my take on that. Trav, you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I pretty much said everything. They clashed.
You said everything?
Yeah, pretty much. I pretty much hit it on the head with Al Bianchi. Wait, how you say his name? Bianchi?
Bianchi, I don't know.
Yeah, they couldn't agree with the vision on how to go about the franchise, so it was bound to not work. It was bound to be doomed from the beginning. I did research on that way back when.
Do you guys? How do you feel about Dave DeBusschere? Do you feel like he was the guy? He drafted Ewing, had some decent teams. Before Ewing got there, I believe I got it here in 84. They won 47 games. 1983, 44 games. Now I do understand that Bernard King got hurt, right? I do understand that. So that's what led to them getting the first pick and not having such a good record in 1985 with a 24-58 record. So do you feel like Dave DeBusschere was done wrong when they got rid of him? They kind of like, I believe his name was Crump. He was the CEO at the time, and he felt like DeBusschere just wasn't on his job because the team kind of fell off, even though, it led to them getting Patrick Ewing. Do you feel like he's got a fair shake? Was that mismanagement or what was that?
Trav can go first this time. I don't want to keep going first.
Trav. Yeah. That's it, Ron. You know what, Ron? I like the way you set the tone, Ron. That's why I keep going. But Trav, go ahead.
You're cool. I just think like even if a team is successful, sometimes people in the front office they just don't see eye to eye. And like you said, Bernard King, he went down early in Ewing's career, which is unfortunate. You can't help that. So it's not, it's not his fault. You know what I'm saying? It's not DeBusschere's fault. So I guess it's just a situation they just weren't seeing eye to eye. DeBusschere just wasn't his guy. He just didn't want him. So
more mismanagement, pretty much.
Yeah, mismanagement.
Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, I think it just came down to a point where, like around that time, remember this is the 80s, and you already kind of pointed to it. Like Detroit was cooking, the Celtics, the Lakers, like it was showtime. I remember, everybody and this is in New York. Even like as a little kid, everybody had some Lakers or Celtics gear. Even if there wasn't fans necessarily of them, everybody had like a shirt or something because they kept winning championships. Like it was just a hot time. And I feel like the organization just wanted to get some star power. They wanted big name guys to start coming in here. And also maybe hoping they were going to attract big name players to come with those big name coaches. So I think Dave DeBusschere just wasn't a sexy hire. Like, you know, they just wanted somebody a little bit more, you know, with a little bit more flair.
But they wanted somebody with more flair, but then they bring in Gordy Sterling, who was only there, I think, a year. Then they bring in Al Balanchi, the guy we just talked about. And then, of course, then eventually that led to Checkers and Grunfeld. So once again, my take on it is I feel like it wasn't like Dave. I mean, yes, they a lot of the elements that brought them to the playoffs, they lost a lot of those elements, right? Players that was very key contributors to the team. But at the same time, I felt like he drafted Ewing. I felt like they could have gave him more time because it wasn't like the other guys did so much better. I mean, if you look at the records from the guys after him, you know, the team definitely didn't do well. I mean, up until Patino took office, and that's when they was able to make the playoffs. But the guy who came right after him did not fit the bill. So my take on it is that this is just another example of, you know, front office, you know, just making, you know, dropping the ball, right? Another thing about the 80s I want to talk about. So they drafted Mark Jackson, right? I think that Mark Jackson, Ewing, even Rod Strickland, I felt like very, very good picks. How do you guys feel about, I'm going to start with Strickland first, the Rod Strickland trade for Mo Cheeks? Now, granted, Mo Cheeks is a legend, right? He's a legend. We're not disrespecting Mo Cheeks. And when you look at Mo Cheeks' career, like his whole body, not just with the Knicks, his whole body, it looks like Rod Strickland's, you know, because Rod Strickland eventually became a player, maybe not as accomplished as Mo Cheeks, but definitely the numbers were pretty similar when you look at the numbers. Do you think that the Knicks should have maybe held on to Rod Strickland, especially because it wasn't like Ewing was an old man at that point, right? And I know him and Mark Jackson kind of is like a clash, whatever, but, you know, I felt like Mo Cheeks and Mark Jackson was a clash. But what do you guys think about? I'm gonna start with a Big Dog. What you think? Any thoughts on Rod Strickland?
Well, you know, Rod Strickland, he was a good player. I just think, I mean, I was young at the time, so I wasn't really looking at front office stuff like that. But like when you go back, it just feel like, you know how organizations just be doing stuff?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it felt like. That's probably how it felt to Knicks fans then. They were just doing whatever. Like, remember early 2000s Knicks? They had to trade like every week. That's how I feel like the Knicks were just doing whatever.
Yeah. Because
like, I don't see no reason not to hold on to Rod Strickland.
Right, so you may not go back to the 80s. Like, I don't go back to the 80s too. Like, I read my 80s stuff, but you know what Rod Strickland, but you know who he became, right? He was nasty. I mean, every time he played against the Knicks, he used to give us fits. So, you know, I just felt like they should have, in my opinion, if you ask me, I honestly believe like they should have, if they were going to move on from somebody, because they eventually moved on from Mark. I'd rather them move on from Mark, even though, and I hate saying that because I felt like Ewing's best years was with Mark. But to me, after Mark Jackson and even Rod Strickland, the Knicks point guard play just was on a decline. I mean, the point guard play just was not it. You know what I'm saying? They tried, you know,
you got
Doc Rivers,
get an old Derek Harper, like in
Derek Harper, you know what I'm saying? You know, and yeah, right. And Mo Cheeks sort of started that trend of getting these guys towards the end of their careers, right? So for me, that's more mismanagement. Now, Ron, I'm curious to hear what you got to say because I'm pretty sure you got an interesting take on this.
Listen, man, that was a horrible decision. As a Knicks fan that's watched this team for many years, trading Rod Strickland was a nightmare decision. I know Mo Cheeks was solid. They messed up with that one. Dude, we talk about the Knicks, and when we talk about point guards, I mean, now the narrative is changing because we got Jalen Brunson, and he's showing us something different.
Right.
But when we talk about Knick point guards, we always bring up Rod Strickland, and we only had this man 1 year. What are we talking about here? How are you gonna trade this dude? This dude lives in Knicks history. Like what? That just shows you how good he was in that 1 year, and you telling me you're gonna ship him out of here? Nah, man.
I don't get it. They drafted him in the first round. It's like you draft him in the first round.
Great pick.
You're supposed to want him to develop. You got Patrick Ewing. You just
that was horrible.
You know, that's what I'm saying. They were just doing stuff, man. Like the front office was just doing stuff.
I don't know what they was doing. They were.
And when you look at the model, right? Maybe besides the Chicago Bulls, every team that's won a championship, you have a center and a really good point guard. Doesn't necessarily even have to be an all-star, but your point guard position is key. Look at how the Rockets did it. The Pistons did it. The Lakers. All these teams are examples. Now, the Bulls are the anomaly because they had Michael Jordan, so it didn't matter who your point guard was. You got Scottie Pippen and Jordan. That neutralizes everything else, right? Their centers were kind of like hit or miss. I mean, they were all right, just bodies you throw out there. But, you know, we know that was Jordan and Pippen, right? And I shouldn't even said Jordan. All right. My fault. I'm sorry, guys. You know, I don't say that man's name on this channel. It's the bald-headed guy out of Chicago. My bad. But I'm being objective. So, but you know, that's just my take with that. But moving forward, there's another trade I want to talk about before we move to the 90s, right? And then I'm gonna give you guys a chance too, if you want to, Ron or Trav, if you want to talk more things from the 80s that would prove your point, because I know you guys are more leaning towards Misfortune. I'm kind of like showing mismanagement right now, but the Oakley trade was a great trade, right? Because we needed that power forward. I love Oakley, right? If I had my soundboard, I would give him a big salute. I think that he really he was the beginning of that, you know, from 2 to 4, you know, the Knicks were just solid going forward from that point forward. But we lost Cartwright. And to me, Cartwright was that solid backup center that I don't think Ewing ever really got. Salute to Tim McCormick. He was all right. But once again, towards the end of his career, not really in the prime of his career and I felt like because of that, you know, Patrick Ewing, you know, he played a lot of minutes, a lot of wear. I mean, you couldn't afford to take him out the game. I know Oakley paid a little 5 at times, but how do you guys feel about the Knicks not really getting a backup center it started in the 80s moving forward, but like not a real solid backup center. Even when they got Buck Williams, I mean, Buck Williams was really a power forward. Herb Williams was nice he was all right early in his career, but when he was the Knicks backup, he wasn't really that dude. How do you feel about the backup centers? And you could even talk about that trade if you like. I'll start with you, Ron.
It's tough because the trade itself, the Oakley trade, I agree with you. I think that was a phenomenal trade, right, as far as what Oakley did bring to the team. It was tough losing Bill Cartwright because even though at old school as a youngin, I used to look at Bill Cartwright. This guy's weird. Look at that shot. Look at that movement. But you know, you had to appreciate his game. The dude was solid. But I do think that the Knicks needed to have that type of power forward, that guy that Oakley brought to the table, that aggressiveness, that grit, and, you know, say what you want about it, but eventually Oakley became a really good mid-range shooter. You know, he worked on his craft and he was able to start knocking down big shots. He came into his own with that. He didn't start off that way.
Yeah, he was a double-double. Yeah, definitely a double-double.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I've definitely you know, much respect to Oakley. I think that was definitely a really good move. As far as them never really getting an adequate backup center, it's true when you think about it. They never really had one, and I think they was in a tough. I want to say that one is not necessarily mismanagement. I think that's misfortune, and I don't even really want to even say that. I just think it was one of those things like there was no answer for it because you got Patrick Ewing. You know what I mean? Patrick Ewing's going to be out there all the time. He's one of the top 50 players. Well, now it's top 75 players in NBA history.
Top 75.
Yeah. He was good on both ends. I mean, like great on both ends. He was a really strong offensive performer and a fantastic defender, especially in his younger years. Like, I don't think that was necessarily a priority for them. They tried to mix and match and put pieces in there, because it kind of runs in, not to make the parallels, but it kind of runs you into the same situation that the Knicks dealt with Julius Randle and Obi Toppin.
Right.
Obi Toppin is somebody that needs to get minutes. He ain't gonna get the minutes behind Julius Randle. It just is what it is. So I think they probably you can point to that and look at that and say, maybe they could have did something better here. But if they would have did something better at other positions, it would have been a moot point. We wouldn't even be talking about it right now. So I think it's just misfortune.
Okay.
Yeah.
Misfortune. No problem.
What's
your thoughts?
I think they did a terrible job personally. Like, I'm not expecting them to have, a great center behind Ewing, but like, you had Herb Williams, man. He couldn't score. He couldn't rebound. He was just running laps for about 11 minutes, bro. And Patrick Ewing had bad knees. Patrick Ewing had bad knees. He couldn't even sit down.
Achilles.
So, he could at least got a solid backup, maybe get you about 6 points, 5 rebounds off the bench or something. Play some good interior defense so Ewing can rest. Like, I think it was just mismanagement.
So I'm gonna say in the pre-Riley era, which wasn't that long, but because I think the trade was in there, 88. I think that definitely was mismanagement. But in the 90s, I'm kind of leaning toward Ron, which is the Checkers and Grunfeld. I think that's just kind of misfortune too, because they didn't really have the opportunity to. They were more focused on, like I said, from 2. Like, when you look at the Knicks from 2 to 4, that's where they put all their energy, right? So you got John Starks, right? Xavier McDaniel, Anthony Mason, Charles Oakley. Then they got Charles Smith, right? So like they put a lot of energy in those positions. And then they got good defensive point guards too. I just feel like they didn't have the offensive guys that you would need to help Ewing. Take pressure off of Ewing, pick and roll scenarios, threats to shoot, right? You didn't really have that. Their 2 guards were really good. They had 2 guards that definitely could, hit the open shots and things of that nature. But at the same time, look at what happened in 99 when they got Camby, right? Camby was able to, because Ewing, of course, Ewing being hurt, that's what caused us not to win the championship. And we could talk more about that too, because I'm trying to move along in the years. Like, now we're getting ready to get into the 90s, right? But when you had that backup center, it was somebody that could actually play if Ewing went down. And another thing too, with Ewing's minutes, they talk about Coach Tibbs burns guys out. Oh boy, when you see how much minutes Rowley was playing Ewing, I mean, from 92, 38 minutes. 37 minutes, 37.6 minutes, 37 minutes, 36 minutes.
They had no choice,
every year. Right. We didn't have a backup center. But at the same time, of course, they didn't really know what we knew now. So it's not like they understood, what's they called when they sit players, load management. They didn't know the values in those things. So I think that's more misfortune, because they didn't know. I can't hold them to a standard that they didn't know. Right. And that's what they did back in the day. But imagine if Coach Tibbs played Brunson 38 minutes, 37 minutes. They'd be like, man, he's trying to kill him. Right. So I'm kind of leaning with Ron on that one. Now let's talk about. Go ahead.
But they knew Herb Williams wasn't giving us nothing.
Yeah, Herb Williams wasn't really getting nothing.
They could have got somebody who did something more than what he was doing.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. Go ahead,
I agree with you on that too, Trav. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like, it's hard to put somebody behind Ewing that's going to get minutes and really grow into something or whatever. Right. But they did. I will say you guys are both correct in the fact that the choices they made, they got the geezers, man. There was always older dudes.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They didn't get somebody young and some, you know what I mean, like with fresh legs that could really be behind. It's true. That's a fair point. But what I was going to say too is, but the thing, the game was different then. You're right though. Riley ran guys into the ground, but everybody did. Like that, all the superstar players from all the teams played a lot of minutes. I mean,
they played a lot of minutes. Facts.
You think Patrick Ewing was playing a lot of minutes? You look at Michael Jordan's minutes. Michael Jordan was playing 40 minutes, 39. This is for the year.
for the
These are
year.
years.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, not
you
years.
know,
Yep. Yeah.
So
No, that's a fact.
Yeah.
Sure. And that's why Jordan was averaging like 38. You know, I mean, that ball head guy. Oh my God. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, my bad. I gotta get
It's
with
all
it. The
good.
ball headed
It's
guy was
all
playing
good.
40 minutes.
He's gonna edit it out. He's gonna edit it out.
This level-headed Knicks talk, man. We having it. So I want to give a salute to the chat. Definitely thank you guys for rocking with us. I'm trying to, keep up with your comments. They have some really good conversations in the chat. I'm gonna try to be more mindful of, putting your comments up, because you guys, they're saying some really good stuff. Like this comment here by Knicks will be champs. By the way, this guy has the best YouTube nickname for the Knicks out of everybody. Knicks will be champs in 25 and 26. And the crazy thing about that name is, if the Knicks don't win it this year, all he can say, no, I meant 25 and 26. So he gets an extra year with that name. So I want to salute that brother there. But I think this is a really good point. Those expansion teams from 87, 88 definitely drafted a lot of Hall of Fame talent during the Knicks early run. Facts. They did give a lot of preferential treatment to those teams. Look at the Magic, right? Look at the Heat. Look at those, what they were able to do. I do agree with that. So that's kind of took away a lot of the talent that maybe the Knicks could have got, because at the time, New York was a place that players wanted to go to, right? Now, I want to talk about this Mark Jackson trade as we move into the 90s, right? So we get our guy, we get Pat Riley, right? So, we go through our list of GMs, right? Ewing had 4 GMs, 6 coaches in his first 6 years of his career, right? So we get past Stu Jackson, we get past John McConnell. Honestly, an argument could be made about Stu Jackson too. Maybe he should have got more time, right? He didn't really get that much time. How many seasons he was there? But about 1 season? I don't think he even got maybe a year and a half.
I think he got 1.5, I think. If
1.5, yes.
If that.
Yeah. So he in, I think, 1990, and then half of 91. So he didn't really get a fair shake, because he got caught up in the whole change in management, and Bolanchy trying to bring McLeod in, and then that was short-lived too. So moving to the Checkets, the Rally, the Grunfeld lever, right? Rally came in, he has his philosophy. Now I do want to salute Rally in not trying to make the Knicks the Lakers. Because I'm pretty sure you guys remember when D'Antoni came to the Knicks, right? He tried to turn the Knicks into Phoenix. New York could never be Phoenix, So Rally at least was privy to what type of city, what type of personnel he had, and he tried as best as he could to build a team around Ewing, right? A more blue-collar, rugged, none of that Showtime, nothing. This is not Showtime, nothing. This is grit, grime, New York City, blue-collar. So I think Rally did a really good job in trying to maintain that. And then kind of like following the Pistons blueprint a little bit with the bad boys, right?
To say that.
So he decided, right, and he was very instrumental in that Mark Jackson trade, because he wanted a bigger guard, or a guard that was more defensive oriented, right? I honestly think, and this is my opinion, I'm gonna start this off. Mark Jackson, to me, was someone who helped Ewing, I think, be more effective on the offensive end, whether it was pick and roll, whether it was trying to give Ewing easier shots in his spots where he's more comfortable in receiving the ball. The little point guard stuff that Mark Jackson was able to do that I don't think Ewing ever really got with anybody else, right? How do you? Well, I'm gonna say how I feel first. When I look at that trade, while I do understand they was able to get some really good pieces, right? Charles Smith, even though he missed the layups, he was a solid forward. They was able to get a younger point guard, more, and Rivers, who was more defensive minded, right? Who could defend, who could fit the Pat Riley mold a little bit, right? Then eventually, I think they flipped Mo Cheeks for McCormick, right? Who was the backup center, who was decent. So, in my opinion, I felt like you already got what you needed from 2 to 4 in terms of defense and guard size. So I kind of feel like that's a little bit of mismanagement issues. Probably one of the few mismanagement issues I have with the Riley era. What do you guys think about the Mark Jackson trade? Was it a good trade, or was it misfortune? Was it mismanagement? They didn't know no better. What do you think? I'm gonna start with you, Ron.
I think the trade was in the end it was a good. I don't know, man. It's tough because it's Mark Jackson. You know what I mean? Like he was our rookie of the year. It's like it's tough, but
yes,
the idea was good. Okay, because if you think about it, you're giving up a rookie of the year player in Mark Jackson. Yes, he had a lot of talent, and you know he wasn't even like he was still coming into his own. Like you know he wasn't even there yet. Like we didn't even know exactly who he was going to be, and then we saw later in the Indiana years. You know, but
right.
The trade itself was actually a pretty damn good trade for the Knicks, though. I mean,
That's what I'm saying. I can't.
Yeah, because you wound up getting Doc Rivers. You got Bo Kimball, and you got Charles Smith. Now, let me just say this real quick, y'all, because maybe people out there don't know, or some people don't remember. Right? We know what Doc Rivers was for the Knicks. He was, he was a workman type player. You know, didn't have no athleticism, couldn't really move that quick, but you know, he was solid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was good on the defensive end, and he had a nice little awkward looking shot, but it worked, right? Then you got Bo Kimball. Now, Bo Kimball was unfortunately one of those players that never got to really see his true potential. Right? He was one of those players that was a dynamo in college. I remember the whole Hank Gathers story. I remember Bo Kimball shooting free throws with his left hand in honor of Hank Gathers, who passed away on the court. He actually, he collapsed on the court, but then later passed away and passed, at the hospital. But that was a horrible situation. And this is how I don't remember a lot of things, but certain things stick with me. When I was watching college basketball, Loyola Marymount was my second favorite team. I've been a Duke fan for my whole life. So, but Loyola.
Oh, salute to you, Ron.
Yeah,
Duke in the house.
That's how it happened.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But that story, like, really, I loved that team. That whole year, I was rocking with them. So him shooting the lefty free throws, all that stuff. But he was a good scorer to begin with. And, getting him as a throw-in in the trade, I thought could have worked out. It didn't work out. But then you got Charles Smith. And yes, we all know Charles Smith for the 3 or 4 missed layup opportunities, no foul. He didn't get fouled. None of that happened. He didn't go up strong enough. And we lost an opportunity to beat the Bulls in that playoff. But let's not forget, Charles Smith led the nation in scoring in college. Charles Smith was a bucket. It's not like he was a bum. He was a bucket.
He wasn't. He could play.
It wasn't a bad trade. It was one of those, was it the right trade? That's still a question to have to answer, but it wasn't a bad trade. On paper, the Knicks actually got a lot out of it.
Right. More misfortune, right?
I would think misfortune.
What do you say, Tribe?
They should have kept Mark. I hear what y'all saying, but looking back, I mean, like I said, this hindsight, but I think they should have kept Mark. Doc Rivers, he wasn't all that. Charles Smith, he was good, but he wasn't like, I don't know, he was good, man. I guess I'm just upset about all those missed layups, but he was good, but he wasn't trash. I just think they could have kept Mark, though, man. I think they should have kept Mark. But that's Doc Rivers and all that. I think they should have kept Mark. Mark was a good facilitator. He could have got the ball to Patrick Ewing in better places than Doc Rivers or Hubert Davis or whoever else was on that team could. I think they should have kept Mark.
Yeah, I'm only in agreement only because we knew what happened. But at the time, I'm with Ron because you were getting Charles Smith. I know if you was a Knicks fan reading the paper, you was like, "Oh, okay, we love Mark, but we could get Charles Smith." Like you said, Bo Kimball. The package we got in theory was definitely good, but hindsight, and then also remember Charles Smith had the injury issues too, so like that's what kind of really took him out.
Right.
he couldn't really get over the hump with the injuries. But so now we're in the 90s, right? Do I want to go to 93? Let's start with let's stick to 92. So 92, Xavier McDaniels. We solid year. 92, we won how many games? 51 games, right? Patrick Ewing, had he had 13 win shares. That's amongst the highest win shares he had that year. The bald-headed guy out of Chicago. What happened? If you guys remember that series, that was when McDaniel went head to head with Jordan. They kind of like, we took them to 7. What happened? Of course, to me, that's misfortune. I don't think none of us would debate that.
It's Michael Jordan, man. It's
Michael Jordan. But do you guys remember the team we had? That team was crazy. Let me see if I can pull it up right quick. That team was pretty crazy. What do you think about that, Ron?
I'm like, honestly, when I look back, I always say the same thing. No, I don't actually. I don't think I've ever said it. I always thought it, but I don't think I've ever said it. I think the Knicks built that team, to be able to stop Michael Jordan, and I think that team was basically, in reality, built to stop everybody else but Michael Jordan. Like that team could knock it. No other team worried me except the bald-headed guy. Like that, yeah, he was the only, like, because he was a phenomenon, man. It's hard to stop a dude like that. But that Knick team could have beat anybody.
Listen, let me tell you this real quickly. Patrick Ewing played all 82 games. Mark Jackson played 81 games. Xavier McDaniel played 82 games. Gerald Wilkins played 82 games. Charles Oakley played 82 games, right? Anthony Mason, 82 games. John Starks, 82 games, right? Greg Anthony, 82 games. You'll never see that in today's NBA. That's the whole rotation. They all played 82 games. That, to me, in my opinion, besides the finals teams, I know 93 was really good as well. But I think that last year of Mark Jackson running the show before the trade we just talked about, I really do believe that was their best chance, right? Ewing was 29 years old. But that bald-headed guy out of Chicago, man. Let me see if I can pull up the series right quick. I mean, it's crazy to me. Let me see if I pull it. 7-game series, right? Second round. I think we were like the only team to really take the Bulls 7 games like that, right? I think Indiana did it one time. I don't think Miami did
98, right? 98.
Yeah, I think that was like 90, 98 or 97. Yeah, I think that was 98, the last dash year.
That year. Some people expect them to beat the Bulls that year.
And my thing is, so we win game 1, lose game 2. We lose game 3, win game 4. So now it's a tied up at 2-2. Then we go to Chicago and lose. But then we win game 6. And then we lose. We get blown out in game 7. I don't know, man. I mean, I just feel like that 92 team just really, that was probably our best chance, man. I mean, because when you look at 94, you could say that's your best chance too. I mean, it's hard to argue against those finals teams, but Hakeem the Dream and that's the whole Starks. I mean, we were up 3-2. Then I think about the finals. Of course, that was more so Ewing's health, right? If Ewing was healthy, I think that Spurs series would have been a lot better. Maybe we might have won it, but it could have probably went 7 games. I mean, that Spurs team was really good. I just feel bad about this 92 team. I don't know, man. I guess we could move past. I just like the 92 team. That's like one of my favorite Knicks teams. Yeah, when I think about this old Knicks
team, man, they didn't really have a lot of shooting like that neither.
They didn't have a lot of shooting, but they were just tough and they beat you up. That's why I like them.
They had like a lot of goons.
They had a lot of goons, man. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. They was not playing with you, man. So of course, I mean, so we can move past 92. Let's get into 93 now. 93, right? We won 62, 60 games, right? Man, we was on fire. That probably is our best year, right? In the 90s. That
It's
60
one. It's
win
definitely. It might definitely one of them.
regular season wise, I think it was.
Yeah, I think that is it. Yep, that's it.
So we have couple of
93.
93. So I'm gonna tell you what happened in
Yeah.
93. 93, another Bulls matchup, right? So we up 2-0. 2-0. Then of course, remember the Charles Smith incident happens, right? We had the chance to take a commanding lead in the series, and the Charles Smith layup. Now, I do want to comment about that play. I do want to talk about that play, not just the miss layup. I'm not sure if you guys was the last time you guys actually saw a replay of the play. It started with John Starks had the ball in his hands, right? I'm not sure if that was supposed to be him coming off a pick off of a Ewing pick or Ewing supposed to dive. All I know is they blitzed the pick. So John Starks was out of control, had nowhere to go, threw it to Ewing. Ewing catches the ball, he's out of control, right? And then he dumps it to Smith. I'm thinking in my mind, I know Ewing was out of control, but as the superstar and the leader of the team, maybe he should have had some poise and take the shot. It might have been a bad shot, but I just felt like that was Ewing's. I don't know what the play was, right? I don't know what the play was because it started with Starks with the ball. I don't think Riley threw up the play for Starks to just ISO and take the shot. I really believe it was supposed to be a screen, but they blitzed him. Yeah, but they blitzed him. The Bulls defense was incredible. Yeah. I mean, they blitzed him. So Starks was he lost control. Then he threw it to Ewing, and then Ewing, he was kind of off balance too. But could an argument be made that Ewing dropped the ball? I mean, we know Smith missed the layups.
I mean, as the leader of the team, you got to put a lot of that on him too, because he's the leader of the team.
Right. That's all I'm. That's.
And he did something a few years later. We get into that a few seasons.
We're gonna get to that. Yeah, but I'm working our way up through the years.
I hate to say it because I'm a Ewing guy, but we can't let him off the hook. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I'm curious to know what Ron thought on that. I'm not sure if Ron, you remember the play, but that's pretty much what happened in a nutshell. Starks had.
When I actually, while you was talking, I decided to pull it up real quick. Not that I wanted to see this again. But yeah, I'm looking.
Trying to watch it again real quick.
I did. I just wanted to see what you were talking about because I remember the play, but I don't remember necessarily what precipitated it.
No, yeah, I watched it. So recently,
but I will say on the pass to Charles Smith, Ewing was falling out of control. Like he was losing his balance. And and rather than getting a turnover, he gave it to Charles Smith, and then Charles Smith went up. And I know even when I look at it now, like in a more calm state, I want to say that Charles Smith should have went up stronger. But I also noticed that the Bulls were all over him, and when he went up, they had like all ball. Like they were like the problem was he was too far under the basket, so he couldn't get any lift. You know what I mean? You just couldn't get up enough to make an impact. So basically, it's just like if I'm 6'4", if you're smaller than me and we're underneath the basket, you're not scoring on me. I'm not letting you get up over me because I'm already there. And I think that's what happened to him. The only thing he could have did was get that ball out of his hands to somebody else. But with the frantic pace,
it was crazy.
It was crazy.
I mean, that's clutch. Now with Starks, right? Do you think that play was for Starks to come off a pick, or what the hell was Starks doing? What was he doing?
I don't know. Listen, there's certain things I don't have an answer for. That's one of them.
No, I know, but because I'm trying to figure out, like, I know they blitzed them, but I just don't understand. See, but this is I'm glad we're talking about this because if they had a point guard, it might have went better. Because if the play was for him to use the pick and maybe to get Ewing the pop or even dive. To dive would have been crazy hard because you seen how they was pretty much they had all 5 guys in the paint. You know, those guys. I mean, their rotation in their scheme was crazy. But I think them having a point guard in that moment, we could have got him because if we would have got that game, man, that's our series. That is our series. Like, but you know that was another you know. I can't say that's mismanagement because I don't really know what the play was, but that to me is just this bad juju, man, just bad juju because that was one of our better teams, you know, and you know we had the Bulls, we were up 2-0, and then they won 4 straight, you know, that I mean the emotions, you know, I remember as a kid watching these games, like it's just sad, man, tears come out. You know, this is why to this day, I never owned a pair of Jordans as an adult. Once I was able to buy my own thing, I never bought a pair of Jordan. I mean, the ball head guy. Never bought that ball headed guy sneakers. So, you know, it's just one of those sad moments, man. Sad moments.
I could, you know, listen, I never really thought about it like that, but I understand that there's a lot of people that share your sentiment. And I know there's also a lot of people that never had a pair of the ball-headed guy sneakers.
The ball-headed guy sneakers.
So I hear what you're saying. I never really thought about it that deep. I never really, you know, it was, you know, I guess because what it was is that I was a fan of basketball and greatness, right? And when I tell you this, I know you don't know this, and I know obviously Trav don't know this.
Okay.
And I get a lot of flack for this because people don't, you know, to know me is to love me.
Okay.
You got to understand this. This is a wild.
I respect it.
What I'm about to tell you is really wild, and this is part of the
no. Go ahead. I like wild perspective. Trust me, I say wild perspective all the time. They killed me. They let me know. Go ahead.
All right. So the thing is, I couldn't stand Michael Jordan, the ball-headed guy, him, whoever,
the ball-headed guy. Facts.
But I respected and appreciated what I was watching because I loved his teammate. So now this is how I want to explain this to you guys. I was always a diehard Knicks fan. It's Knicks over anybody else. I don't care about no other team. But my favorite player was on the Bulls. I know. Yeah, I said it. You heard me.
That's tough.
I said it.
That's tough, brother. I don't know if I could ride in the same car.
I know it's wild. I know. See, Knicks 100 knows my favorite.
Yeah, let me put this comment. I saw it. I was letting you get to it, but I'm putting it on the screen.
Hey, look, I understand, Ryan.
My favorite player was Scottie Pippen. I never saw somebody because listen, in relative to me being 6'4", because I'm, you know, somewhat tall. In hindsight, like compared to other people, I'm not tall. But compared to the people I grew up with, I'm tall. Right. So when I watched, I modeled how I tried to play. Not that I was that good. I'm just saying off of Scottie Pippen. I just loved his game. And he was my favorite player. It's not my fault that he happened to be on the Bulls. I can still root against him and love the fact that he's a phenomenal player. And my whole thing, I was like Pippen against the world. I was even Pippen over Jordan. I'm like, yeah, Jordan won, but he ain't winning without Pippen. I'm that guy. So,
wow. I want to say this. Though the ball-headed guy, I can't stand him. You know, a lot of LeBron fans think that if you don't think he's the GOAT, you hate him. Right? It's crazy. If you have LeBron as number 3 or 4 all time, that's hate. Like that's incredible. Like thousands of players, you're still in the top 5, right? So as much as I hate Jordan, I can't stand him. He is the greatest player of all time. For him to do what we're talking about, right? To be down 0-2 on the road as the lower seed and to come back the way they did, that's some GOAT stuff right there, man. That's what GOATs are made of. So as much as I can't stand him, I do give him the props that he is the GOAT. I'm not one of those guys. See, I'm the objective Knicks fan. I ain't a hater, you know, straight out of Kings County, where I'm from, where my people, we don't hate, you know. We appreciate what guys do and we appreciate the greatness. However, you're going up against our guys. I'm going with my guys all day. Win, lose, I'm riding with my guys. You know.
So can we just say Michael Jordan now?
Huh?
We still got
No. He's still a bald-headed guy. This is a Knicks show, man. This is a Knicks show. Anything else about this 90, where we at, 93? Anything else about this 93
I'm gonna say this. You say you don't know what Pat Riley was doing with John Starks?
Yes.
I was asking that too. And we about to go to the next season, and we're gonna be asking that again.
Yes, we are. Hey, we're gonna get to that. Of course, this was the year with Doc Rivers and the new guys that came in after that trade that we were talking about. For the guys that may not have realized that, I'm trying to think if there's anything about 93. A good thing about 93 though, we definitely beat the Pacers. You know, hey, anytime we beat those guys, it's a great year. You know, I'm gonna go to 94. Now 94 might be.
And I just want to say that as you go to 94, even this team, this just is another really glaring example. This 93 team won 60 games.
60 games.
Who's the number 2 on this team? Who's the number 2? Charles Smith?
Technically, I was gonna say Charles Smith, but scoring wise, it was Starks.
And John Starks.
It was Starks.
And John Starks is just not a number 2. Like he's a good complimentary player. I would say he's above a complimentary player, but he's not a number 2. And this is the problem with this Knicks team. But continue. We can go to 94 now.
Yeah. It was supposed to be Charles Smith, but he really couldn't do it. He just really couldn't do it. I think that's like the beginning of the health really even though he played like 80-some games, that was the beginning of him not being able to really reach his full potential, right? So,
I think because they made that trade for the Mark Jackson trade, they had too much pressure in Charles Smith.
Possibly, too much pressure. Too much pressure because let me see his numbers in 94. In 94, it dropped. He went down he was 12 points in 93. Now he's 10.4 in 94, and he's not even the fourth option because Hubert Davis was averaging 11, mostly off the bench. And then you had Starks. He took his game to another level with 19. And then Charles Oakley, double machine. He was the third leading scorer. Now, this 94 team, technically, argument could be made. This probably was our best team of the decade. I'm not sure if you guys would agree with that. They won 57 games, right? And once again, they definitely beat Indiana. Right. Anytime you beat Indiana, it's a great milestone for me. Right. But Indiana was coming because Indiana took us 7 games. We killed the Nets, and then we beat the Bulls. So let's talk about that. So now as a Knicks fan, going back, right, watching it as a kid, I'm like, yo, this is our year. Jordan is gone. The bald-headed guy, said Jordan, but the bald-headed guy, he's gone. All right. He's out of there. He wants to play baseball. Good luck with that, sir. We wish you the best. No, we don't. And then now you had Scotty taking the reins. And what's crazy about that Bulls team, though? They had 3 All-Stars. I think BJ, Scotty, and Horace. That's crazy.
But they wasn't really all-stars like that. Like BJ All-Star.
You can't say that.
Bro, look at their numbers, bro. They weren't really all-stars. They was like the Atlanta Hawks all-stars in 2015. They weren't really all-stars like that, bro.
But you gotta respect it though. You can't, and to the people that say that Jordan didn't have the help. I know this is a Knicks show, but there's some people that try to big Jordan up. They will say, oh, Jordan didn't have help. He had 3 guys that made the All-Star team after he was gone. I'm gonna pull that numbers up right quick. I'm not sure if you guys want to see it,
13, but maybe 4 assists, 5 assists.
Hey, I think it's still an impressive feat if you ask.
I mean, it was cool because they did way better than expected after Michael Jordan leaving. I ain't trying to play him, but
Yeah. I mean, that's all I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that Michael Jordan had help. Like it wasn't just he did things in the clutch that made us go crazy and like, what the hell's going on? But let me see if I can pull up their roster right quick. I hate going to the Bulls. I ain't gonna lie. Going to the Bulls page is just makes me cringe. So Scotty averaged 22. He averaged 22 and 8 and just under 6. Horace Grant 15 and 11. That's a solid double-double, brother. And BJ, he's a point guard. He averaged 14, 15, just under 15. He didn't give you much assists, but it don't matter. He was an all-star.
He was all
That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, right? We beat them. That's the key thing. We beat them for the first time. We were all happy. How did you feel? How did you guys feel? Did you guys feel? I know you guys were happy, but did you guys feel like? I'm not sure if you felt this at the time, but like the fortune was on your side. Were you very confident? Because I remember feeling that way. What was your thoughts on finally topping these guys that've been killing us every year?
I ain't gonna lie. The referees cheated for the Knicks in one of them games.
Let's talk about it.
You know, the referees cheated for the
Okay. I kind of have an idea what you're talking about.
They barely beat him without Mike, too. You know what I'm saying? But I was happy.
That's true.
I was happy.
That's true. And you say that we beat him without Mike, and barely. This was one of our better teams. Barely, right? Barely. And this was if you ask me, because they had a lot of these guys, even though they didn't have all these guys didn't play 80 games, but in the playoffs, for the most part, all of these guys was there. Like I said, except for Charles Smith. Charles Smith to me was kind of like, he played hurt. I can't remember what his injury was. I just know that eventually his games went down, because if you look at how many games he played this year, he went from playing like 80 games down to 43 games. And he only started 21 of those games.
You know what Charles Smith was probably like back in the day? He was probably similar to Tobias Harris.
But
like
you're saying
out there, but like,
are you saying like with the Knicks?
Yeah,
when he was with the Knicks, not his whole career. Like how Tobias Harris was with the Sixers. Okay, that's fair.
That might be fair.
A lesser version, but
yeah,
that might be fair.
That might be fair. That might be fair. But what were your thoughts, Ron? We finally beat the mighty Bulls. They've been killing us every year. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I thought the road was ours. Like I thought it was our time. When I was like, no ball-headed guy, I was like, yeah, no, this is our year. I felt that way. I was like, there's nothing gonna stop us. But
okay. But did you feel like the luck was on your side?
Yeah,
like
I did.
Good fortune.
I did.
Because
going into the season, and yeah.
And then you finally beat them, because I felt like that for me was like a triumphant moment. Like getting past Chicago for me was like, wow, we really can do it. We really can do it. And then of course, going up against those Pacers, that was another scary series. And something crazy too about the Pacers matchups, right? Did y'all guys notice how Rick Smits used to always give Ewing the business in the playoffs?
Oh, of course.
Is it me?
Of course.
Or is it like he used to always kill? I'm like, damn, Ewing, you're better than him. What how's this guy just hitting you with all this, of low pro? I mean, he is 7'4". This is a big guy, and he has some game to him. But I just thought Ewing was like the last time I'm not a fan of players, right? I love Jalen Brunson. I'm not a fan of Jalen Brunson. I'm a Knicks fan, right? Because Jalen Brunson could decide, I want to get traded tomorrow. And now you're rooting for Brunson. Now what are you going to leave the Knicks? So that's just me, how I get down. I'm not saying anybody else should get down like me. I'm not a fan of players. I admire players, especially if they went to Duke. But I'm not a fan of players, right? Even RJ Barrett. People think that I was this RJ Barrett, stan. He went to Duke, so I admired him. I thought that he, could be something special for us. It didn't work out, but I didn't cry when he get traded. If the guys get traded, it is what it is. So that's how I keep my level head. But so we get past Indiana, though they're coming for our next. We get to Houston, right? Very interesting series. At the time, remember the O.J. Simpson trial going on, right? I didn't really care about the trial. Everybody was caring about it. I guess I was too young to really care, but a lot of more people were more interested in the trial than the game. how did you guys feel? Okay, I'm gonna ask this question, right? More for because this to me is about more bad luck, bad juju, as some people would say. We're up 3-2. Do you guys think the championship is yours? Like 3-2, no Jordan, Hakeem, Ewing beat Hakeem already, right? In college, though in the NBA, Hakeem had definitely got the upper hand over Ewing a lot of times. But finals, you're up 3-2. What is your thought process? Where are you right now in the world, in the Knicks world? And Ron or Travel?
I thought they was gonna win.
You thought they
I
were
thought
going
they
to
was gonna win, but it's sad to say I'm not surprised they didn't. It's sad because like Patrick Ewing didn't really play well in that finals.
No, Hakeem.
And then even if you go back to when they played the Pacers, like y'all remember that, was it game 6 or 5 where he had like 1 point?
I can pull it up.
It was game 6 against the Pacers at 1 point.
Yeah.
Like,
He had
like
a very
Patrick,
bad game against the Pacers.
Yeah,
That's what
like,
made the Pacers series harder because, like I was saying, that's what I was saying. Rick Smith was giving him the business. I can pull it up right now. I don't remember the exact stats he had, but that's the beauty of the internet. We could pull it up. But I do remember that specific series as well. He was giving the business. I mean, he had 17 points and he shot 4-10 from the field. Not really. That's not the numbers that you need from your
one
guy.
game against the Pacers at 1 point. It started, so it make you question, like, is Patrick Ewing the guy that can, you know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna get to that. I was gonna ask. Matter of fact, while we here in 94, let's answer that question. Do you guys think that Ewing is a first option on a championship team? Of course, he's a first option. He was a first option, but on a because they never won the championship. Maybe Ewing would have been better off as a second option. What do you think? Trav, you could take this first.
I wouldn't say. I think he was good enough to be a number one. Maybe it's the fact he didn't really have a good number two, like Ron was saying, and to help take some pressure off him. So they could have been that.
Fact.
It could have been. It could have been that.
I agree. What's your thoughts, Ron?
I mean, yeah. I mean, pretty much. I'm echoing my own sentiments. I still say the same thing. I think he's definitely was good enough all around to be a number one. He just needed some extra help. He needed somebody. You need, when you're trying to win a championship, sometimes you could do it if teams just buy in and just play together and play really sound, smart basketball and really limit turnovers, mistakes, and step up in big moments. Like but that rarely happens when it's not a special player. You know what I mean? A go-to person on a team. It can happen, but it doesn't happen all the time if it's not a go-to person on a team. And the Knicks just like every year. I mean, every year we're going through. Just look at that roster. Same guys for the most part, and if the guys get replaced, it's other guys that just ain't number twos. And when that's the case, think about it from Patrick Ewing's standpoint. Who's going to get all the focus?
That's a great
Who's
point.
the team trying to stop? It's all Patrick Ewing. So if he don't come to play, he's going to come to play every night. But if his numbers change or they don't look the way they used to, it's because he don't got any help, and the defense is keying in on him. And to your point, like even when you were saying, like, I'm not looking at specific playoffs, I'm looking at his overall playoff numbers. For the regular season that year, he had 24 points, averaging 11 rebounds and two blocks, 2.5 blocks. In the playoffs, his offense went down. He was averaging 21.9 points, still averaging 11 rebounds, and his blocks went up to 3 blocks. So it's not like he wasn't given the effort. He didn't have any help. He was getting stopped.
Right. And then you got Olajuwon on the other side. You know what I'm saying?
On the side. Right.
And to your point, too.
When they played MJ.
Rick Smith was giving him the business. But Rick Smith's always, the Flying Dutchman, man, he used to always give Patrick.
No, he was nice. No, he
knew how to get into Patrick Ewing's head. You know what I mean? That's the reason. Listen, have you ever, all the time that Patrick Ewing has been an NBA player, you never really see Patrick Ewing get into fights. Yeah, there was the little scuffles back in the Riley days and stuff, but it wasn't Ewing in the mix.
Yeah, no.
The only time I ever seen Patrick Ewing raise his hands was against Rick Smits. He gave Rick Smits a 2-piece.
Yeah.
He connected on one. He didn't really hit him with the second one.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Rick
I
Smits
remember
used
that.
to do that, man.
That's the only fight that's the only real fight he had. I agree. I agree with both of you guys. I think that he is a first option to give it to add to what you guys are saying, to give some more different perspective. The point guard thing, I think, is the number one reason why he didn't win the championship, because every center you look at in history, there hasn't been a center in history that won the championship without at least a decent all-star level point guard, whether the point guard was an all-star or not. But at least if that point guard, like a Jamal Murray, perfect example, never was an all-star, probably would never be an all-star, but he can take his game to that level in the playoffs. How many times you saw him drop 40, 30 something to help catapult that Denver team, right? Even when you look at the year when without Murray, they made it to the Western Conference Finals, right? And everybody said, yo, Murray was there, they would have probably won the championship. So that's the value in having that point guard, right? And I'm not trying to knock anybody, anybody, if y'all want to connect with me or Ron to do an interview from the 90s Knicks, we'll love to do an interview with you guys. But at the same time, the point guard play to me just was not good enough for Ewing to really get in his bag, get the ball in the spots he needed. You could see like crunch time, right? When it's time for your best player to get a shot, if you don't got other guys that can actually make the play, it's going to be hard to do it. Jordan can make the play, right? Who else? Other great players. Hakeem had really good point guards that can shoot, right? Kenny the Jet Smith, he was the first option before he got there. I can't remember what team he was where he was putting up crazy numbers. I'm pretty sure you guys remember back in the day when Kenny Smith, before he got to the Rockets, he kind of was like a first option. I can't remember the team. Either way, the bottom line is
with the Kings and the Hawks.
Kings or somebody. He was putting up really good numbers.
I think it was the Hawks. Maybe it was the Hawks.
Probably the Hawks. Maybe the Hawks. Maybe the Kings. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is
like 17 with the Kings.
Okay.
Between him and the young Sam Cassell, and we know what Sam Cassell grew to be able to do. That's what you need as a center if you want to have success. You're going to need guys that can make plays and hopefully can put, at least if they're not really pass first point guards, at least can they put the ball in the basket themselves, right? And the Knicks didn't have that, whether it was Charlie Ward, Chris Childs, when you look at the later finals runs, right? Even though you had Houston, you had Sprewell, I think that point guard is what you really need, and he never had it outside of Mark Jackson or even Rod Strickland. If they would have kept him, maybe. But just to add to what you guys are saying, I agree with everything that you guys are saying about that. But 94, I mean, we know what happens. I'm not sure trying to relive this too much. And I kind of, because I want to get to more stuff in the future. Let's just say John Starks thought he was Jordan, and he found out he wasn't. Do you guys agree with that?
I bet Riley did not make him stop. He was what, 2 for 18?
He was like 2 for 18. Yeah, that's exactly what he was. Yeah, he
stopped him from shooting. Stop him.
Yeah, he shot us out the game. And then Ewing honestly felt like to bring it back to Ewing. Yo, I'm not getting the ball when I need it. We know he didn't have the greatest series, but you got guards out there, just renegade guards. I'm just going to jack it up, And that's what happens too when you have a point guard, a Tim Hardaway, somebody that can really control the flow of the game. You put John Starks in the corner, or him moving around instead of having to make plays. It's just way better, because that was not John Starks' game. And like Ron said earlier, John Starks is not a second option. He's probably a third or fourth option at best. So
you should have been on the team. People keep forgetting.
I ain't gonna go that far. We love John Starks.
Only reason why he was on the team because he tried to dunk on Patrick Ewing in practice. Ewing injured him, and you can't cut somebody that's injured. He's supposed to have got cut.
Okay.
He wasn't supposed to be there.
Hey, big dog. This is a Knick channel, man. You gotta be careful.
Man, you gotta keep it real though, man.
You gotta be careful, man. You gotta be careful.
But that Rockets team was good too, though, man. Because Olajuwon, of course, he's Olajuwon. Then you had, like you said, the good point guards, like Kenny Smith, rookie Sam Cassell.
Yes.
You had people that can shoot the ball like Robert Horry. They had
Robert Horry.
Mario Elie.
Those guys could play Mario Elie. They played good defense.
Yeah, Otis Thorpe at power forward. He was
Otis Thorpe
rebound, and so they had a squad, man.
They had a nice squad.
You know,
And go ahead.
let me just say this before I forget, because I do forget things.
Go ahead. Go
One of
ahead.
the things that I always love to point to and honestly, and when you're a victim of the moment, you forget all of this. You're not thinking about none of this. I'll be honest with you. I was a young guy. I was in high school when this was happening. I will tell you right now, when the Knicks lost that game 6 game, you couldn't tell me it wasn't because of OJ. You couldn't tell me that didn't have something to do with the Knicks losing. I'm 100%. I was like, nah, man, I can't watch the game. They're just showing the Bronco. This is why they lost, man. I'm telling you.
Where's my man
So
Sam at? That's my conspiracy buddy. My man said we only me and Sam are allowed to go off the rails. Now, you know what? Possibly because I read Blood in the Garden, right? And which is a good book. If you guys are into the 90s, go get that book, Blood in the Garden. I think it's written by Chris Herring. He talked about how even Pat Riley was asking people what's going on with the OJ, so OJ kind of definitely overshadowed the finals, and maybe some of that could have that it could be a fair deterrent that we're not considering, that you wouldn't consider because you're just, caught up in the basketball, or you're a kid like me who didn't really care I didn't care for the OJ case, to be honest. I'm just trying to watch basketball, and then, there's all this
right.
news, but that's a fair point. That's a fair
I just
point.
think that at the time I was young, and I'm just like, the mojo was messed up in my mind. I was like, that's what did it. They lost their focus.
Possibly,
But
bro, possibly,
but
because they were talking about it. Both sides, they were talking about it. Yeah, so.
but I think as I got older, right? As I got older and understood
Right,
more
more
about the
level-headed.
game, you know what I mean? More level-headed.
Yes.
Um, you go back and you look at this. Like we killed John Starks for his play, 2 for 18. But even in that game, the Knicks lost like 90-84. It's not like John Starks shot us out of the basketball game. If anything,
Good point.
you blame Coach Riley because
I
his
do.
game plan was you blame Coach Riley because his game plan wasn't solid. He should have featured Patrick Ewing more. He should have went to somebody else for help. We were still within striking distance. We still could have won that game. So it wasn't like John Starks shot 2 for 18 and we got blown out by 20. It wasn't. It was a close game still. We still had a chance to win. Now, but my biggest thing, which I think a lot of Knicks fans understand this now, but for years, even myself, I forgot. A lot of Knicks fans forget. 2 for 18 was game 7. We were up 3-2. We lost game 6 as well.
3-2.
John Starks had 27 points in game 6. He shot 50%. It wasn't John Starks' fault why we lost. He didn't have a great game in game 7, but we could have put them away in game 6. Just bad stuff, man.
It's a collective. I never put it on one guy, even with the modern Knicks now. Like I when we lose, people are like, oh, it's Randall. It's a team effort. It's a team effort if we win. Like even when Brunson scored 61 points, I normally like give a highlight of the players that did well. I didn't highlight that, and Brunson wouldn't even want us to highlight. We lost. There's no highlight in no 60-point game when you lose. You know what I'm saying? So we can't put it all on Starks, but we got to go through it, right? Unfortunately, and I want to move past this painful moment, and I do want to talk about 95, y'all. 95, more misfortune, right? And don't worry, after 95, it gets a little better, but still bad, but it's not as bad as what we had to go through. 95, right? Jordan is still, playing baseball. I mean, ballhead guy. He's playing baseball. He's out of there, right? He thinks he's I don't know, Down Strawberry, or I don't know. He just thinks he's a baseball player, right? So he's still out of there. Bulls kind of falling off the map, right? Good thing about 95. Well, there's no good thing to be honest about 95. We did win 55 games though. We did win 55 games in 95. More game participation. Ewing played 79 games, Starks 80, Harper 80, Mason 77, Oakley just 50. Right, he had an injury that year. Charles Smith 76 games, but in Charles Smith playing the 76 games, His scoring did go up to 12.7 points, right? Cool. I mean, Charles Smith having a renaissance this year. Hubert Davis, 82 games. So a little bit more participation from these guys in 90. So if I had to say that some good news, you got more participation from some of your key guys, right? Of course, we go to the playoffs, but then we lose to that other ball-headed guy in that other place.
First, let me say this: in '95,
Yeah, 95.
Herb Williams and Charles Smith, they was on the team too long by this point.
No, but Charles Smith had a good year. Yeah, I'm not sure about the playoffs, but he had it. Hold on, let's pull up the playoff numbers. He did have a
long at this point.
But he did have a good year. Now, the playoffs, his numbers dipped a little bit, right? He did play all 11 games, but his scoring dropped down to 10. But he did play. He was available, right? And Charles Oakley also was available.
Shot terrible that season. Like
Ewing had a bad playoff too, like 19 points, under 10 rebounds.
But I'm talking about through the whole season. John Starks, he ain't shoot too well that year. I remember that, man. He was
pull up Starks.
Like, he was
15. Yeah, his scoring dropped. 15. Yeah, his 3-point percentage 35. 35% from threes. His field goal percentage was 39%. That's not good.
Yeah, I remember that. Like I think that finals going 2 for 18 might have messed him up a little bit going into the next season.
Yeah, but John Starks is also night and day too. Like Ron said, 26 points in Game 6, Game 7, 2 for 18. That's kind of like John Starks. The best way to describe his body of work. He's going to give you really good games, but then there's going to be games that's going to make you cringe.
Yeah, Pat Riley ain't get enough blame for that. I still blame John Starks too, but Pat Riley ain't get enough blame.
No, Pat Riley has to get more of the. I mean, it's a team effort, but he's the guy calling the shots. Even like I told you, that play that we pulled up with Charles Smith, John Starks had the ball. And what was he doing out there? We don't even know what John Starks was doing out there. It just looked bad. It just looked like bad news. That's why you need a point guard, right? But so we get to the playoffs, we kill Cleveland, then we get these Pacers, right? Now, I believe the 8 seconds, the 9, what was it, 9 points in the 8 seconds or something crazy like the 8 points in like 30 seconds.
I think it's also when you
was game 1 or something like that. Yeah, I was gonna get to Ewing. I'm getting to Ewing.
Yeah.
Ewing missing the layup. To be fair, to be honest, even if Ewing made the layup and we win the game, I don't think he was gonna beat the Rockets. Because they got Clyde Drexler. That Rockets team was really in their bag that year in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you beat Indiana, but you guys still got to get to the Magics. By the way, you still got to play against Shaq.
They weren't gonna beat Orlando.
Let's not forget.
They weren't gonna beat Orlando either.
You don't think they beat Orlando? I don't know.
Nah, I don't think so.
You don't think so? But one thing the Knicks did have over on Orlando. Of course, Shaq is the best player on the floor, but they got size to deal with Shaq, right? And they got guards that defend really well, right? Not to say that they were going to shut everybody down, but I do think that Knick defense. I'm not sure I'm curious to see what they did against Orlando in the regular season. What you said?
Nobody had size to deal with Shaq.
No, of course. I mean, come on. That guy
and this Knick team in particular had no scoring, man. I'm looking at
that was the issue.
Oakley, Smith, Ewing, Starks, Harper, Mason, Bonner, Hubert Davis, Greg Anthony.
Yeah. You're talking about 16 points. No, I'm sorry. You're talking about 15 points from John Starks is your second option. Right? And then Charles Smith, he stepped up, but just 12 points. Not enough offense is true. But Ewing missing the layup. I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe Ewing just was not good enough to really get over these humps.
Can I?
Go ahead.
Sometimes, once again, victim of the moment. And as Knick fans, we get caught up in our feelings. We watch something. We want to win so bad. It's been a long time. Some of us never seen a championship. You know what I mean? And then when you have to go through all of the heartbreak of having a good team every single season, and the same one team keeps stopping you from for getting closer to fulfilling your dream with the ball headed guy, then the ball headed guy's out of there. You have your moment, and then something just doesn't work out in that moment. Once again, you get the situation where you're still fighting, and guys are getting older. You know the window's getting shorter.
Yes.
A play like that, it just took the air out of everybody. All the it took the air out of everything, and it was unfair too because Ewing caught a lot of slack for missing that shot. Now, mind you, that like who knows what would have happened, right? If he would have hit the shot, who knows? But like people forget Ewing had an incredible basketball game. Like Reggie Miller scored 29 points for Indiana in that game, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
Ewing matched him. Ewing had 29 points. And I think I had the numbers up. Ewing had 29 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 blocks. The
No,
man
he had
came
a
to
great
play.
game.
He came
He
to
had a great
play.
game.
Just,
I'm just
but
saying, like, the moments where you have to overcome, like we seen Jordan do it. We seen Hakeem do it. I mean, we seen a lot of the other guys that some people would put ahead of Ewing, let's just say, in the elite tier. So like there might be a tier of Jordan by himself, and then everybody else like LeBron or whoever other guys you think that are in the top 10, right? And then there's tiers, and like Ewing is like always some tiers down.
right.
You know, I just feel like just Ewing just at some point you're just not good enough to get over the hump. Like
Well,
like
I
Charles
will.
Barkley was an excellent player, and he had played on some excellent teams. Another example of not being able to get over the hump. But go ahead, Ron.
I was no, I was going to
Um,
say to your point, I think you might have hit on it in a different way. I think what it
okay,
really comes down to is in order to win a championship, in order to be big and clutch in these big moments, you gotta have not a dynamic, but you have to have a guard type, could be a forward type. You got to have another type of player that can get you big shots as well in those
that's true.
moments. Like you don't want
That's
when the
true.
game's on the line, the ball to have to go to your center. You know what I
That's
mean?
true.
It should be a more dynamic type of player that can get you that
Yeah,
shot because when the guy has the ball in his hands, he could do so much more with it. The center can only do so much. I don't care how good the center is.
that's
We
a fact.
seen Nikola Jokic basically take teams out and they won a
Hmm.
championship with him 2 years ago. But at that time, you had a Jamal Murray was playing great basketball.
Yeah, you
You
don't win
had
without him.
Contavious Caldwell Pope playing solid basketball, great
Facts.
defender. You had all these other guys contributing, but Jamal Murray was a big part. Now, this past year, notice Jamal Murray has an off year. They don't win the championship. Jokic don't even look the same. Like, I think that's part of the big thing that the Knicks didn't have that Ewing needed. When you need a final
Yeah,
second shot in a play, which you don't know what the defense is going to do, you need somebody that's more dynamic that can
yeah.
either shoot a three, take a mid-range shot, get to the rim. Ewing can only do
Come
so
off the
much.
pick. Come off the
Yeah,
pick.
right. You need a little
Yeah.
bit more.
Knicks didn't have nobody that could come off the pick
I
with the
agree with
ball in
that.
their hands. They didn't
Yeah.
have nobody that could do that at all. You know what I'm saying? Like even Starks, he might can do it, and but not with consistency. No, not with the last shot. I don't trust. I love Starks. We love you, but we just have a real Nick talk right now. And yeah, I think you're right. The point guard stuff. I didn't want to keep harping on that, but yeah, well, you're right. It has a lot to do with the point guard. And then, but now Riley. This is Riley's last year. Do you think Riley was it? He wasn't. But I could ask the question. In my opinion, I don't think Riley was all in. I think he was negotiating with Miami behind the scenes. He knew what
Mhm.
he wanted to do, right? And I think that Riley just his focus wasn't all there. Do you guys think Riley's focus should also get some blame or some attention here? Like he
I'm glad you
literally just
said
is
that.
gone.
I'm
Yeah,
glad you said it. I want to say he quit on the Knicks. He quit on the Knicks.
I agree. I agree. It can't all be Ewing, because one is a team effort, but also the coach. You know, if your coach is thinking about his next job while he's coaching you and you're trying to win a championship, you're not going to win a championship. You know, it's just not going to happen, right? Even if you have Jordan, if Phil Jackson is thinking about going to the Lakers, you're not getting the same brain that helped guided you to 60 wins or guided you to the champion, because he's thinking about, yo, these guys in New York, they're playing me. You know, they're not giving me what I want. I wanted to be a Knick for life, but whatever happens, happen. I'm just rolling the dice, you know? Let me see. He didn't quit on the Knicks. Hold on. We got some good chat. We got a good chat here from Sporting Page. Let me see. He said he didn't quit on the Knicks. Ernie Grunfeld had the connection. For some reason, Dolan chose him. I wonder why. Are you talking about Riley or he's talking about somebody else? I think he's talking about Scott Layden, I think.
Oh,
but anyway,
Layden was the worst.
Yeah. I'm trying to work my way to him, but that's Riley in a nutshell. I'm not sure if you guys want to give any thoughts on Riley before we move to speed past the Don Nelson era, because there was nothing really there with Don Nelson.
I give my final thoughts on Pat Riley. I think Pat
gave your
Riley
final
didn't get enough blame because, like, of course, John Starks played like trash in that Game 7, but Pat Riley didn't get enough blame either. I guess because his past success, he didn't get enough blame for that Rockets loss. And then, like I said, I think he was just going with the motions, planning to go to Miami.
Yeah,
his last season.
I agree. I agree. Any thoughts on that, Ron?
No, I mean, I think y'all kind of nailed it. I think Pat Riley was definitely checked out.
All right.
Things weren't what he wanted it to be, or not where he thought it was going to go. And yeah, unfortunately, I think it kind of showed and definitely if you look back, you start to see it even more. It's real evident that his heart wasn't in it.
I'm back, guys.
Okay. All right.
Don Nelson, though I do want to say there's some rumors, and Blood in the Garden had it, but I heard it even before I read that book. There was rumors that Don Nelson was trying to convince Grunfeld and Checkers to trade Ewing for Shaq. I'm not sure if you guys heard about that, but there was rumors that yes, and that's what led to him being fired, because Ewing got wind of it, and Ewing is like, nope, this guy got to go. He has to go. What? So because already there was some tension there with Ewing and Nelson, because I know Nelson wanted Anthony Mason to be the point forward, right? Which was kind of crazy. And he kind of wanted to reduce what Ewing is doing and kind of play more of a modern style of basketball. Like kind of Don Nelson kind of was ahead of his time. But I do want to ask, do you think that the Knicks should have considered trading Ewing at that? Because they traded him 4 years later. We know how that story went. Do you think they should have really put serious consideration in making that Shaq trade? Because remember, Shaq was working his way out of Orlando anyway. Like, there was some rumblings that Shaq was not going to be back there. He didn't sign the extension. There was a lot of rumblings with Orlando. And I think Orlando would have did the trade because they kind of knew that they were going to lose out on Shaq. So how do you guys feel about that? I know we love Ewing. He's, in my opinion, he's what, number 2, 3 Knick all time? Do you make the move, Ron? Do you make the move for Shaq? A young Shaq?
Yeah. What?
Without thought.
Yes, sir.
So do you think that Shaq would have took us to a championship?
Probably not. Probably not.
Wow, really?
Because the thing is, remember, even when it comes to Shaq getting to the Almighty,
okay,
it didn't happen where Shaq was. Shaq had to go where it needed to go to make it happen. Shaq had to go to Miami. You know what I mean? Shaq had to go to LA. You know what I mean? They didn't come to him. And then with the way the Knicks was moving, I don't have a lot of faith that they would have brought in the right pieces around. I mean, for years, Ewing didn't even have a number two. How are we going to find a number two for Shaq? Now, mind you, maybe Shaq's play and the fact that he was just an overall beast might have brought other people to the Garden. They might have wanted to play with Shaq because he was in a class by himself.
Mm-hmm.
There's a possibility. Maybe just him as a player, maybe he might have brought somebody to the Garden and made it easier for the ineptitude that the owners had in finding somebody to be a number two.
I don't know.
Right.
The Knicks probably would have messed it up.
Knicks would have messed it up. Ooh.
They would have messed it up like they always do.
That's tough. I want to say this. I think that a lot of things would have had to happen. One, I think Don Nelson might have pushed for a point guard, or because Don Nelson, the style he wanted to play, a little bit more up-tempo style, getting running out breaks. That's not how the Knicks roster was set up. So that's why it was never going to work with Ewing and the guys they had. But I do think that if they would have considered the trade for Shaq, now you have more years to figure it out because Shaq is a lot younger than Ewing, right? Because at this time, Ewing is 33, right? Shaq was in his 20s. So you see, it took him like maybe 4 or 5 years to win it in LA. Why not in New York now? I do think, like Trav said, hey, a lot of mismanagement in New York. Possibly could have dropped the ball on it. But I do think getting Shaq, especially as you look at how more dominant he got, and it being New York, and at the time players did want to come to New York, I think that they could have gotten a guard to come in and really take that pressure off of, Starks or whoever else would have been the two guard. I'm not sure what the trade would have looked like, but I do think that, that Don Nelson trade, I would have. I love Ewing, but and I ain't gonna lie, a little tear fell out when they traded him because I'm like, damn, Ewing is gone. I felt like it was the end of the era at the time. And Ewing is, like I said, he's the last player that I was a fan of. So it would have been hard, but hey, Shaq coming through, dunking it. Once I saw one dunk, I would have been like, yeah, let's go. Let's go, Shaq. So let's speed past Don Nelson. Jeff Van Gundy takes over. Go ahead.
No, I just want to tell you, even that, like I told you, if you ask me right now, if I trade Ewing for Shaq, hell yes. But back then, I could never trade Ewing.
Right, exactly. No. Right. Yeah. Of course.
Hey, the funny thing about it? Let's say if they did get Shaq, and let's just say somehow the Knicks was able to draft Kobe.
That would have been crazy.
They'd have traded Kobe after his second season.
Really?
Well, just like they did Rod Strickland. They'd have traded Kobe for no reason.
That's true. You know what? Because they did trade Mark Jackson, right? This regime, I'm talking about the Checkets, Grunfeld regime. They might have possibly, but I don't know. I think Checkets and Grunfeld were a little more level-headed. I think that they would have rolled with Don Nelson, but that's the reason why Don Nelson was fired, because Ewing was instrumental in hey, trade who? And they were also clashing just about the way the offense was ran, because Anthony Mason had way more responsibility. He was like a point forward. But then Jeff Van Gundy takes over, and he kind of continues the Riley way. Now, remember, 95, 96, that ballhead guy out of Chicago is back. Oh, man. And yeah, so it didn't go well. We lost to them in 5 games in the playoffs. So, in my opinion, I was like, damn, window's closing, right? So we can speed past 96 because it just wasn't good. I do want to go to 97. Okay, before we get past it.
Against the Bulls was an achievement.
Right.
The 96 Bulls team winning one game was an achievement.
Crazy. Yeah, crazy. That's why I just sped past it. That was just the ball-headed guy. But in 97, right? 96, 97 season, we won 57 games, right? We were second in the Atlantic Division, right? We're back. Right. Of course, we got a new foe that emerged on the scene. In terms of the Heat, they kind of established themselves and they got better and they made us to get to the playoffs too. So, but this year, We also were able to make some different changes and adjustments, right? We was able to get Larry Johnson and Allen Houston, y'all. All right. So LJ, Allen Houston added to the fold, right? Of course, we had to trade Anthony Mason, the beloved Anthony Mason. I know a lot of you guys wasn't mad at that trade, right? Because LJ was LJ. Even though his back, he wasn't the same player, didn't have the same lift that he had. But I know you guys were happy to get Grandmama. I'm sorry. I love Mason. More New York City guys. We love these guys. But LJ, oh my God. I was like, yeah, we got the team to put against this bald-headed guy. We coming for him, right? This is our year. And we do good. Like I said, we get 57 wins, right? We beat the Hornets. The Hornets was getting beat every year. They was just weak. But then, and then, of course, that was Anthony Mason grudge match. He wanted to get us back, but couldn't get us back. Now, we get the Miami Heat. Key thing about this series, we are 3-1. This is our year. We ready for the Bulls. We got Allen Houston. We got LJ. Now we got the scoring, right? Now we got bona fide second, third options, right? Allen Houston averaged 16. Who else? John Starks averaged 18. No, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong number. I'm looking at per 36. Let me get this right. So Ewing averaged 22. Let me see. Allen Houston averaged 14. LJ 12. John Starks 13.8. Not the greatest looking numbers, but when it came time to getting a bucket, you had multiple guys that could get you a bucket, right? That's the key thing about this team, right? Okay, like I said, not the prettiest numbers, but you put the ball in these guys' hands. Remember, because they had to sacrifice to kind of play together, because all those guys were used to getting a lot of shots. But now you're playing with Patrick Ewing. Now he gets this second and third option. Still doesn't have the point guard. I think that's kind of what hindered us. But I do want to talk about this Heat series now. Now, guys, we didn't talk about this, but I do want to mention right quick. There was like a battle with us and the refs. Okay, the refs, you know, they kind of changed the rules for us because we kind of played that. We talked about that mugging style of defense a little bit, hand checking, you know, knocking guys out, getting in the fights. We are like the trendsetters for that type of stuff, right? That tough, gritty New York style basketball, right? So now we get into the playoffs. We up 3-1 against the rival Pat Riley. These guys, I can't stand them. Oh my God. The Heat is I know the Pacers, but the Heat is the team that I hate the most out of all of them. I hate the Heat the most. I can't stand the Heat. And so we got them. But then we get into a fight. And all of our guys stepping off the bench. And everybody gets suspended.
Hell, I got suspended.
What are y'all thoughts on this? Like, you know, more misfortune, you know, guys get into a scuffle and it just escalates. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Just give me your thought. I just need to hear
this is my thing.
Go ahead.
I'm not saying I guarantee the Knicks would have accomplished this. But this is the best chance to beat that Chicago Bulls team with Jordan.
I agree.
But the thing about the Knicks, they represented all the street thugs in the prison yard. And it can't be vital. After PJ Brown, and like he tombstone Charlie Ward or whoever it was. Who was he flipped over? Was it Charlie Ward or Chris Childs? I can't remember.
It was one of them.
Charlie Ward.
It was Charlie Ward.
It was Ward. It was Ward. Yeah, because Charles ain't going for that. Charles is scrapping. Yeah, Charles ain't going for that.
Something like a Farouk.
Yeah. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, man.
And then you go 3-1.
They probably could have won the championship, man. They probably could have won the championship.
97, 92. Two teams that didn't go to the finals that I felt like really could have did something special. We should take, Ron. We should take, man.
Before I say something about that, I just wanted to say one thing that bothered me now that didn't bother me then, because like I wasn't like I said, I was younger. I wasn't paying
Of
attention to
course,
certain
of
things.
course,
Now that I'm
of course.
older, I look back and I'm like, why did we do this? Another thing that the Knicks made a mistake with the prior year is we drafted our what we wanted to call like our dynamic three.
Okay.
Walter McCarty
Oh
and
yeah, I didn't add those
Dante
guys. Go ahead.
Jones and
Sorry.
yeah, like
You see why
what's
I
the
didn't add them, right?
no, I know. But you know what bothered me about that? Why we had 3 picks, 2 back-to-back picks, and 1 other pick about 4 picks later. You telling me the Knicks couldn't have packaged 2 or even all 3 of those picks and moved up and tried to get some I'm just wanted to throw this out there because, in fairness, after those picks, there wasn't a lot left, right? Because if you
No,
look at the
no.
draft, the people that were left, nothing sexy there. But
Okay.
prior to the
Yeah.
Knicks, even if they moved up 5 spots, they could have wound up with Peja Stojakovic, or you know what I mean? Like,
I didn't want to go there. I kind of left
all
the
right,
draft picks
I just
alone.
I'm
But no,
just
no, I appreciate that.
yeah.
No, add what you want to add. I'm just telling you, I'm skipping some stuff because time, and there's certain things I want to talk about. So, but yeah, you're right.
No. I
That's
just
good
wanted to
stuff.
throw that out there because
No, throw it out there. No, no, whatever you
that was
got.
one of those where the Knicks could have that team that we had that year could have been that much better had they just forget the quantity, just get quality. If they just
Right.
one guy, but whatever. All right, now back to what you guys were saying. Um,
Mm-hmm.
ugh. Once again, we're at this
3-1.
situation one more time where what you like about a team is also it's like a team that shoots the three. You live by the three, you die by the three. The Knicks
Right.
bruiser, roughneck New York mentality came back to bite us in the ass because
Facts.
we went out there, with that chip on our shoulders that we're tougher than you, we're bigger or badder than you, and we're going to show you. And that's the only way we know how to play. This has been the same way under the Pat Riley regime, under the Van
Mm-hmm.
Gundy regime. It's the same style of basketball. And just mentally, we just we weren't ready. We weren't smart enough to understand that it made more sense for us to just stay out there on the court. We were
Right.
already in the driver's seat, but no, we got too full of ourselves because of our style of play and our mentality, and it cost us in the end.
Man, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna move on. More misfortune, like more misfortune, more it's like the basketball gods just don't want us to win. Because and we mentioned this earlier, these guys are getting older. Like you don't got years to waste, right? You don't got a 57 win season, 55 win season. You get first, second seed or third seed, and now you find yourself in the quagmire because you guys lost self control. And it's an older team too. So the excuse of the young guys, you don't really have that. Um, I just feel like it was another missed opportunity, more misfortune. The moves they made on the management side to me were getting really good. As we get to 98, this was the beginning of the end to me. Of course, the bald-headed guy was getting ready to get in his last dance. Of course, the bald-headed guy. He's like, you can't talk about the Knicks and Ewing without talking about this guy. But this year they made some changes to the team. Uh, well, not really. The big thing with this year was Ewing getting hurt. Ewing played 26 games. I thought this team was all right. I don't think they played as well as I thought they should have, but at the same time, Ewing getting hurt was never, it's never a good thing. Our record was 43-39. However, we did somehow make it to the second round of the playoffs, right? Before I get to play, anything you guys want to add about this 98 season, rookies, drafts? I don't really see nothing else significant just yet in terms of the additions. But I do see Anthony Bowie, uh, Buck Williams, Terry Cummings. Yeah, anything you guys want to add? Because I do want to touch on this playoffs.
Mm-mm.
Ewing injury.
That stunk. That stunk. That stunk.
Bro,
Once
Herb Williams
again,
was still
tough.
on the team.
Yes, Herb Williams was still on the
Like,
team.
bro.
Yes. And everybody was pretty much durable besides Buck Williams. Terry Cummins played 30 games. Chris Dudley. Oh
Chris
God.
Dudley was.
And then Herb Williams played 27 games too, but mostly in garbage time.
Yeah, they had Terry Cummins. He was about, what, 37 years old at the time?
Yeah, he was up there.
He was in his prime,
Terry
like
Cummins,
in the mid-'80s. Like,
right? Yeah, Terry Cummins is 36. But look, we did beat the Heat though. That was the Allen Houston shot. You know, I didn't watch this game because I had to go. I had a basketball game, and so I was like, the Knicks gonna lose, right?
I thought the shot was in 99. My fault. I thought that was in 99, the shot.
Was it 99?
I mean, we beat them in the first round, but I thought the shot was 99 when we went to the final.
The shot was 99. Okay. The
Yeah.
shot was 99. Yeah. We just beat them. We just beat them head up then. But that was the only good thing about this year then. We just beat these guys head up. Anything else about 98? It kind of was just, it
wasn't nothing going on, man. It was just
it wasn't nothing going on. Yeah, we actually smacked Miami in that last game, by the way. So that was good to get back to rally, you know? Because I can't stand them Heat. All right, so 99. So we're gonna move forward to 99 now. Here's where the changes were, right? This is where they made some interesting changes. How you guys felt? I mean, well, this is a dumb question, but I'm gonna ask you a better question. When we traded Starks and got Sprewell, did you guys feel as though what did you feel? Did you feel like Sprewell was the answer? Because now remember, ball-headed guy is gone, right? Now, key thing about this season too, lockout, you know, so only 50 games, 52 games, which I think kind of hurt us. It helped us, but it hurt us. How do you guys feel about the lockout? Do you feel as though the lockout, was that a blessing because we did go to the finals? Or did we need the lockout to go to the finals? What are your guys' thoughts on that? We start there.
You want to go first, Ron?
Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
I mean, we did benefit from it. You know what I mean? We did benefit from it. It did work in our favor. But I wouldn't even, just being real, I mean, that wasn't our biggest blessing. Our biggest blessing is that Latrell Sprewell decided to choke out Rick Carlisle. I mean, what's his face?
PJ Carlissimo.
PJ Carlissimo, yeah.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't even be talking about Latrell Sprewell on the Knicks. So
that's a fact. Ooh,
that's our biggest fortune right there.
Yeah, that's kind of I wasn't thinking about it like that, but that's kind of like what I was leaning towards, like good fortune, because that honestly was a great trade for us, if you ask me. I think that's probably top 2 trades we made in that whole time frame we've been talking about. You know, to really like take the team to another level. Maybe even the best trade technically. LJ, yeah, I think it's better than LJ. What do you think?
Yeah, no. I mean, Sprewell was a monster, man.
Yeah, he's a monster.
Could play. It was just the fact that he couldn't keep his, he had to keep his emotions in check. But other than that, he was a beast.
And he came to the right place. A team full of guys that can't keep their emotions in place.
I wish he choked the coach 6 years earlier. I wish he choked him 6 years earlier.
Oh man, that's a fact. Ooh, if we would have got Sprewell then,
now you're talking.
Now you got a bona fide second option. So before you go, Trav, if you want to touch on this, I'm gonna say the lockout, even though technically was the blessing or was a good thing for us, I do think it was also a bad thing because this team didn't get the time to gel. Like, they had to fight to make the playoffs, yo. We almost did not make the playoffs for the first time in the decade. And I think that if they would have got more time, training camp, getting guys in shape, getting guys ready, they probably would have had a better chance, even though they did go to the finals. How much better can you get than that without winning the championship? But of course, Ewing's health elements as well. It's just it's good fortune, but it's also kind of like misfortune. It's kind of like the Miami Heat, right? The Miami Heat, they was an AFC. They went to the finals, right? Killed everybody in the East. Got lucky, had some good fortune with Milwaukee Bucks. But at the end of the day, you go up against a giant that you're just not prepared to deal with. You're going to lose, right? So, I think that I wish they would have had more time. Trav, you want to talk about that?
I don't think the Knicks would have beat the Spurs, even if Ewing was there. But I think the Knicks would have been a better team had they had the full season and everything. Where Sprewell and Houston can have more time for that chemistry. Because I think it was time for Ewing to no longer be the number one guy. And he was still like the number one guy during the regular season. Yeah, and I think it would have been the Sprewell and Houston would have had more time to be 1 and 2. And Ewing could fall back to the third option. And probably, well, I can't even say play less minutes because Herb Williams was still there for some reason. But
Herb Williams is there.
Yeah, I don't know why he was still there, yo. But Sprewell and Houston, they could have had more time as the 1 and 2. And Ewing could have took less responsibility as the third guy, focus more on defense.
But to be fair, they had Camby. We also we didn't touch on that trade too, but they was able to get Camby, who, in my opinion, was the first time they had a real solid backup center since Cartwright. So the Camby is the reason why they was able to get as far as they did, because when Ewing got hurt, plug Camby right in, and Camby just really put in work. But how do you feel about losing? Nah, I guess Oakley's old too, so you guys wouldn't even. That's not even a good question. But I'm a Knick guy.
Yeah,
I'm a Knick guy, so trading Oakley was rough at the time. I ain't gonna lie to you. It was rough. It was rough on me at the time because I love Oakley. He was one of my favorite players on the team. Probably I like Starks too. I think maybe him and Starks were like my two guys. So, moving Oakley wasn't necessarily easy for me personally, just from being a fan of just, players.
And I don't know why Van Gundy, it seemed like he didn't want to play Camby like that at first.
Nah, he didn't, but he had to later on because, I mean, if Ewing is not there, we're going to play Chris Dudley.
Yeah, but he should have let him play even more before Ewing got hurt. You know what I mean?
Nah, I agree. I do agree with that. Camby was solid. Camby was averaging, let me see what Camby's numbers when he got time. If you want to look at his per 36, I got it right here. His per 36 was pretty impressive. I'm not gonna say impressive, but it was solid. He was averaging 12 and like 10 per 36 minutes. So if he would have got more time, he definitely would have been able to do more. But of course, that's that rally thing too. You're a rookie. You're not going to really see, or a young player, not just a rookie, but just a young player, period. You're not going to really see the time that you should see. And of course, you guys also hit it on the nail. You still got Chris Childs and Charlie Ward, running the show. That was just wasn't.
Before that, like, then Camby averaged like nearly 4 blocks a game, like his last year.
Yeah, his numbers.
You know what I'm saying? He should be on. I don't know what he should be on.
His numbers were solid. His numbers were solid, but
4 blocks a game.
Young guy coming into a team full of veterans. You wouldn't have to go down for them to really see that. Oh yeah, this kid need to get the time because they was going. Chris Dudley played 46 games out of the 50. So
and Camby didn't want to play Camby.
And look, he averaged a whopping 2.5 points. 2.5 points.
He got on the court more, man.
And 4 rebounds. Camby averaged 5 in the limited time. Camby got 5 rebounds and 7 points. So Camby clearly was
off Ewing. Like Camby play more, not Ewing minutes now.
Exactly.
Like, I don't.
Exactly. So this was the shot year. So when they got to the playoffs, this was the shot year where Allen Houston hit the shot and I was playing basketball. So that was good to see. Upsetting the Heat, first seeded Heat, they were feeling themselves, and we tried to help them out of here.
They tried to help the Heat cheat. Remember that? Their last shot, they gave them like extra time. It felt like going to like.
Are you talking about the last game? The last game? Yeah, I never saw the last game. I never saw the last game. I never saw it because I honestly thought we were cooked, and I had a basketball game, so I was like, because I think it was an afternoon game, so
Yeah, it was.
I didn't, I didn't watch it. I
I'm
just
gonna
saw
go
the
back and
highlights,
watch
of
the
course.
last. I'm gonna go back and watch the last. Like I felt like they gave Terry Porter extra time to try to get their game winning shot.
Possibly.
I'm gonna have to
I
go
just
back
never
and look.
watched it because I ain't gonna lie, I had little faith. Ewing was rocky. It just was rocky, for me. Fighting to make the playoffs. That's not New York style. What about you, Ron? What was your?
Hmm. You know, it was more like, I guess I was just more shocked at what was going on, and the fact that I really didn't give the Knicks a lot of chances, and they just surprised the
Right.
hell out of me. You know what I mean? Like it
Surprised
was
the
one
hell
of
out of
those.
us all.
Yeah, I guess at that point I had become a cynical Knick fan. Like, I seen so much, all these opportunities, we never made it. I was just kind of like, all right, we playing basketball. I really, I wish I could have appreciated it more if I would have. Yeah, but I was just so defeated as a Knick fan at that point. I was happy that they were playing basketball, that it was the playoffs, but when I look back, I couldn't appreciate it the way I should have at that time because I was just like,
Exactly.
"Man, it's another
That's my
year."
regret. That's my regret. Just missing the game. Because I remember when I came home, my mom was like, "Oh, you missed the game. Like he used to hit the shot." I'm like, What are you talking about?" Because there was no social media, no cell phones
Mm,
like that. No, like if you wasn't in the household by a TV, you don't know what's going on, right? And then I didn't really care because I was doing me. But when I got home, I remember my mother telling me, "Yeah, Houston, he hit the shot." So then we killed the Hawks, and then we got those Pacers. Um, another year of us beating the Pacers. That's always a good thing. We
mhm.
won this series 4-2. I believe something amazing happened this series too. Was this the series? Was this 4-point shot or
Yeah,
no?
Yeah,
This was
99.
4-point
Yep,
shot.
Larry
yeah,
Johnson.
yeah.
Yep.
Against Indiana, it
Now,
was.
now, of course, like the Knicks winning the first round, right? I'm watching every game. I didn't miss another game from that. So I remember watching the 4-point play game. I called it out. I said, "Yo, all they got to do is make a 4-point play. They're going to make a." Because you got to understand, I wasn't the objective Knicks fan. I was really like, these guys are superheroes. They're never
Mm,
gonna lose. Like they're gonna come back. So 4-point play really made me feel like, yo, they can do something. If you're hitting 4-point plays to win games, the ball-headed guy is gone. He's out of here. Get him out of here. Yes, this is our time. Duncan whoever, get these Reggie This is our time. So I just remember being very, very excited and just like thrilled with what I was seeing. What about you, Trav? Where were you?
I got a question, y'all, and I want y'all to keep it
Okay,
real.
ask your question.
mm.
I think Ron know what I'm about to ask. Was Larry Johnson really
Uh,
fouled on that play?
hey, NBA cheat codes, man. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. You know what I'm
It ain't
saying?
it ain't easy to pull off a 4-point play, but that was one of the cleanest 4-point plays I've seen. So
Facts.
yeah, you know what I mean. So
I think it's the
hey,
best I've ever seen
Nobody answered my
as a Knicks
question.
fan. Oh,
oh,
you know why?
I
We're going to
think I
skip past
did.
it.
I
Yeah,
think I
he
did.
definitely did. I did too. I said NBA cheat codes. Sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. You're talking about a team that went through a lot of misfortune. Can
I
we at
put
least get one?
I put it to you like this, Trav. I'm a Met fan. Yeah. And
Oh man.
Johan Santana had a no-hitter. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh man. See, Ron, man, we agree on everything else, but you got to bring up the Mets. Oh God.
Listen, if
Cause
anything, that should make you feel for me.
no, you know what's crazy, right? As a Yankee fan, I'm not into baseball as I used to be, but I don't have as much disdain for the Mets like I used to. I'm not gonna lie, because to be honest, I kind of feel bad for the Mets. I kind of feel I'm in a position now where it's like, even the fans, you guys. I mean, you guys are still maybe not you, Ron, but the Mets fans got the craziest fan base out of everybody. You got to agree with that. I mean, these guys. I got into like almost fist fight arguments with Met fans. I mean, just crazy stuff, right? I mean, there's times where the Mets, and I don't want to make this a Met show, but I'm just going to wrap up with this. The Mets will get further than the Yankees, and they'll wait for the Yankees to lose before they say, "Oh, the Yankees is this, that, and the third," right? But then you already know you're a Met fan, going crash and burn. And when it's their time, y'all can't take y'all time. That's the one thing I don't like about Mets fans. But we'll move on. I'm not saying that's you, Ron, but
But I will tell you that Met fans just they've built all of this animosity up for years of the Yankees being successful and winning.
yes,
So
yes,
it just
yes.
it's built up. That's all I could say.
It is. But I'm not that bad place with the Mets. But so we get past Indiana, right? 4-point plays. I
That was one of
love
the
it when
great
we
Knicks
beat
moments.
Indiana.
That was one of the
Yeah,
great
I
Knicks
love.
moments, man. I
Yeah,
remember the place erupted when he hit that three, Larry Johnson.
what?
That place
Man,
erupted.
yo,
I remember that,
my
man.
mother almost killed us in the house, man. We were going crazy. Like crazy. I'm talking about crazy. I used to watch the game with my dad, and we were just going like we were so pumped. Like, man, those were the days you watch the TV. No internet, no distraction, TV
Mm-hmm.
on. You just watching the game. No Twitter, none of that other stuff. Right? Straight action. So you really get to enjoy and experience these things. Right?
Right.
Now we get past the Indiana. Spurs coming. Who are these Spurs? Now I know who Tim Duncan was.
David
I
Robinson.
remember watching him. I remember watching the highlights. Wake Forest. Never watched the game, but every time they used to talk about this kid, because in my house we finally got cable at that time. I didn't have cable in the early '90s, so that's
Mhm.
when I was able to see ESPN and really get to see like more coverage in sports and stuff like that. And they just kept talking about this kid from Wake Forest. This kid from Wake Forest. He's amazing. This, that, and the So I knew he was a killer coming into the building. And I knew not having Ewing, yeah, it's gonna be a problem. Houston, it was going to be a problem, right? And they fought hard. How did you guys feel? Well, I think Trav already gave his answer. What about you, Ron? Do you think if Ewing was there, would they been able to get over the hump?
They would have had a chance. I think they would have had a real legitimate chance. But that two-headed monster played well. They played well over there in San Antonio together when it mattered. But I do think that if the Knicks had a healthy Ewing, I think they would have had a chance to win it all. Yeah, I think they could have beat San Antonio because
Yeah, I agree.
The Knicks had enough. You know what I mean? A they had Latrell Sprewell, who could come to play. You had
Facts.
Larry Johnson, who hit that big 4-point play shot in the Indiana series. His confidence was sky high. Then you
Yep.
get Allen Houston with the bucket he made. His confidence now is sky high. They had all the
Facts.
makings. If you had a healthy Patrick Ewing, yeah, I definitely think they could have won.
Yeah.
And,
Because
and Larry Johnson would have
go
to
ahead.
come off the bench and that. Oh, my fault. Larry Johnson would have to come off the bench and let Canby start with Ewing to go against Duncan and Robinson, man.
I was thinking about that, but I don't think Van Gundy would have did that. I do think that Marcus Camby is another guy I would add to the factor because when he comes in the game, he just disrupts a lot of what you can do. You can put him on Duncan. He could deal with Dave Robinson, even though Dave Robinson wasn't all of that at that point either. If you saying Ewing was in in his prime or was old, right? Dave Robinson, the same thing, right? Dave Robinson wasn't the guy who put up the quadruple double, right? The guy who put up like what 50 some points. It's crazy. Yeah, that wasn't Dave Robinson either, right? Tim Duncan was really the X factor, but Ron hit it on the head. You got Sprewell, Houston, right? LJ. That right there, that is what would have been able. I think they could have got, or at least 7 games. But I think that core right there, I don't think the Spurs could have dealt with that because they would have had to put some of those resources into defending Ewing. And if they had the double, if you have to double Patrick Ewing at that point with those other players, yeah, it was going to be tough, right? So the Knicks didn't really have a guy that you had to double, right? Because Tim Duncan, he was able to guard LJ one-on-one, right? He's a bigger guy too, right? He could neutralize some of what LJ could have done, right? But if you add Ewing to the fold, right, and then Dave Robinson, that's a handful for Dave Robinson. They're going to have to help out, right? Because Ewing still was effective in those later days too. It's just that his health wasn't right. So you add that dynamic to the series, I do think this is one of the biggest misfortunes that Ewing not being there that year. That was our year again. Probably the best chance. Like when we talked about those years we talked about, technically 99 with a healthy Ewing. Just with that caveat. Of course, 94 realistically up 3-2, that technically is your best chance. But I'm just saying if you had a healthy Ewing, yeah, I think they could get over the hump, or at least 7 games. I'm talking about a battle, like battle. Because San Antonio was a really good team. I think they had a span in 40 games. They were like 44-4 or something like that. They were a really good team. Like they definitely were a really good team. But at the same time, I think they could have been beaten, and we just never got that chance, right? So now we get into the end of this Ewing stuff, right? 2000, 99, 2000, right? Scott Layden, he is your executive, right? Because also remember, this was Grunfeld got fired because he had beef with Jeff Van Gundy. We didn't talk about that, but he got fired because he had beef with Jeff Van Gundy. And then Checkers, he opted not to come back. That's when they brought in Scott Layden, the best GM in Knicks history. And this is the beginning of the end. Though they did make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. But this is the beginning of the end for the Knicks and this series, because I think this was Ewing's last year, right? This was 2000. He played 62 games, and I think he was traded the following season. So Ewing's last year in New York, 15 points, 62 games. He averaged 15 points and then 9.7 rebounds. This is when Sprewell and Houston began to become those top options, like we talked about earlier. Houston had 19.7, and then Sprewell had 18.6. Right, LJ kind of also declining, even though he was only 30 years old. It's a shame that LJ didn't get more time. 30 years old, and he's averaging 10 points. His production dropped a lot. It's a shame, even though he did play 70 games. But this Knicks team was the final, hurrah. Anything from this 2000 year that got you. We beat the Pacers. We lost to the Pacers, but we beat the Heat. That's what I meant to say. Beat the Heat, but lost to the Pacers.
I just realized every season from the 96-97 season to the 2000s,
yes,
the Knicks and the Heat played every time, and then went to the final game every time, man.
Every time, yes.
Every time went to the final game.
Heated rivals. And we beat them. So any year we beat the Heat, to me, was a good year, or the Pacers. But this time we did lose to the Pacers. This was the Pacers team that went to the finals and got cooked. Wait, did they get cooked? I'm not sure if they got cooked, but
yeah, they got cooked by the Lakers.
They got cooked was it 5 games or 6? I don't think they got swept.
No, they didn't get swept. I think it went to 6.
Went to 6. Okay. So that's not good. The Nets got cooked. But yeah, so the Pacers, they finally get over the hump and they get to the finals, but of course they lose too. I'll start it off. I'm gonna say that this year, just very sad. Like the energy just started to change to me. Like even though you had Sprewell, Houston, right? I just feel like Scott Layden coming in. It just the dynamic. It just was different. It
started getting dark.
It started getting dark, man. You start to see the orange and blue sky starting to really look just not pretty like it used to. It just started getting just this nasty out there. Like the the vibe wasn't right. You know what I'm saying? It just didn't feel like the same Nick future because I really started to lose hope. Even though they won 52 games, but at the same time, it just was like I remember people saying trade Ewing. Ewing had a lot to do with it too. The fans were kind of like turning on Ewing, and you guys in the chat don't cap. Some of y'all were in there saying trade Ewing. Trade Ewing, you know what I'm saying? And you know, that really would kind of did it for me. Even though, like I said, the team was a solid team if you just looking at numbers. But I actually remember watching the games, and I just remember like people turning on Ewing. Oh, it's Houston's team, it's Freewell team. Get rid of Ewing. And then they actually, it makes me wonder if Scott Layden was listening to the fans. Both realistically, being objective, it probably was time to move on from Ewing. Hey, we said in '96 they should have moved on from Ewing. So, but what do you guys think about 2000, the last hurrah?
They want to play Canby, man. They still ain't want to play Canby.
Yeah, that's a Van Gundy thing. That's a Van Gundy thing. You know, but wasn't Canby hurt though at some points? I think he did get hurt because I see here he played what 59 games, I think. So I do think part of that was just misfortune on his part too, though. But in the playoffs, did he played in the playoffs though? No. Let me pull up the per game playoffs.
He didn't start. He didn't start none of the games.
No, he didn't start. No, if you saying that the starter,
40 minutes.
Yeah, but you saying the starter? No, he wasn't going to start. That's just not what Jeff.
No, but like
he wasn't going to start.
Catching you and still playing 33 minutes. Like, come on, man. Like,
yeah. 14 points in the playoffs. You know that. Yeah, that kind of
shooting like 42%.
Shooting 42%. Yeah, no more double teams. He wasn't getting no more double. Oh wait. Coach says that Van Gundy was terrible. Uh-oh. Do you guys agree with that? You guys think Van Gundy was terrible?
Well, not then. No, I don't know if I can.
Yeah, I can't agree.
I can't remember.
Coach, you my man. You my man, but I can't jack that. I think that
no, but I don't think he's wrong though. That I don't mean to cut you off. I think the same thing that happened with Pat Riley happened with Van Gundy, but not that year.
Oh, okay.
2001, 2002, he checked out himself.
Yeah. I did that too, but that's the end of the video there. But because that's when they pulled the trigger on Pat. But yeah, I agree. Yeah, he definitely checked out that year. But you can't really blame him. I mean, look at the team they put together. But anyway, but I can't say he was terrible. I think that Van Gundy is one of the better coaches in the franchise history. I just think that they missed an opportunity. Well, go ahead, Trav.
No, looking at that comment, he was basically Barry Switz.
Well, oh yeah, they put that up there. Salute to the sporting page, man. Sporting page always got some good page. Yeah, I met him through your channel, chat. So
yeah, he's quite entertaining.
Yeah, he's a good guy. But Trav, so do you think Gundy was terrible or?
Man, I still trying to figure out what it was in Marcus Camby, man. I think that could have made a difference if he had let Marcus Camby get some more playing time. And I don't know if Patrick Ewing being a star player, like, I mean, I'm not in the locker room. Maybe he wasn't allowing it. I don't know, but they wasted Marcus Camby.
You see what happened to Don Nelson, man? Man was trying to protect his job. You know what I'm saying? You know, Ewing is the franchise, you know, up until Layden took over. You know, once Layden took over, that's when it was just
they wasted Marcus Camby, man.
Yeah. He didn't get the minutes that maybe he could have gotten to impact the team. Like if he would have got a little bit more time, maybe started at the 4, you know, because LJ kind of was dropping off too. So you have LJ and Ewing's production just plummeting, you know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, listen, this has been a great show. We made it. We went through all the years, right? Um, how about this? Did you guys did your perspective change based on the conversation that we had? Any, or are you guys pretty much where you were when we started the video? Was it misfortune? Was it mismanagement? We know it could be a combination of both, but where are you tipping your scales? Um, I think I might have changed my position a little bit. I think I might be leaning a little bit more to where you guys were saying with the misfortune, especially early on. But what do you guys think? Trav, then Ron.
I'm probably about 75% mismanagement, 25% misfortune.
Okay. Yeah.
The Mark Jackson trade, the
Mark Jackson trade.
the Charles Mill staying on the team too long, Herb Williams getting a check.
Yep. Not
Ewing,
getting a point guard, not getting a real point guard.
Yeah, Marcus Camby, John Starks. Like I don't. I'm going with mismanagement, man.
You go with mismanagement. What about you, Rod? Where you at? Final
You know
thoughts
what?
on this?
I've always said that I thought a lot of misfortune happened. I thought, the bald guy was there, and that really affected the Knicks. But when you kind of look at even with when the ball guy was around, if you look at that time when he was gone, if you look at the player change when we flipped things around and he was out of the league, the Knicks dealt with a lot of misfortune, but more importantly, they probably dealt with more mismanagement. Not just not having the proper personnel, but even when you have the proper personnel, making the right calls in the playoffs. Like,
facts.
And it's one of those things, like I know we're talking about Ewing in this situation of what happened in the 90s, but some of that can correlate to the coaches too. The same type of stuff we talk about with Tom Thibodeau. Listen, I don't remember Van Gundy winning anything. Maybe Van Gundy was a regular season coach.
Just the finals that one.
Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe he's a regular season coach too. Like maybe he couldn't get over the hump. I don't know.
Well, at least Tibbs got the opportunity, right? Tibbs is still writing his story, so
right, correct.
So, and I think honestly, because I'm optimistic, I think that Tibbs can honestly pass Riley and what Van Gundy has done, because I think this Knicks team is built to do some big things.
He's definitely in the position to do that.
He's in the position. Will it happen? Hopefully, right? Let's hope that our new ball head in Chicago is now those two guys in Boston. But anyway, so I hope that's not the case. Oh God! But I'm gonna say, yeah, I agree, because I think that this Knicks team, even though this, Leon Rose we trust. You already know how that goes, but and he's made a couple of mistakes, but the moves these guys are making is night and day to me. I mean, you got a point guard, right? I mean, you got, from 1 to 4, this team is incredible. I think the 5, there's some things we can do, but I don't think we're that bad off at the 5 either, especially if we could get one more 7-footer. But to my position with the Ewing mismanagement, I'm going to go mismanagement because I'm level-headed, as you guys know on this channel. I'm riding with the mismanagement guys, even though we had some misfortune. But the misfortune, it would have been less misfortune if we had better management. Because if you get a point guard, half of those clutch moments, I guarantee you are gone. Right? It's not to say that it'll be perfect, but I guarantee you that Starks play with Starks trying to dribble, I don't know where he was going. I don't know what the play was. It just looked crazy. It was dysfunctional, right? He's all over the place. They blitz him. Then he gives it to Ewing. Ewing's off balance, right? Then Ewing has to give it to Charles Smith, who's too far. That right there does not happen with a real point guard. That right there is.
You had Rod Strickland, and they gave up both of them.
They
for
gave
no
up
reason.
both of them. See, and that didn't see. That's a great point, right? Even though Rod Strickland was the different regime, but they should have kept one of those guys because we seen what Rod Strickland became. Of course, they didn't know that, but they knew he had talent. They knew that he was a dynamic playmaker. You don't give up a Tim Hardaway caliber kind of guy, because that's what Rod Strickland was to me. Now, I'm not saying he's as good as Tim Hardaway. Tim Hardaway was nice. I'm saying that his style of play, being able to control the flow of offense and being able to score, that's what you needed. That's what you needed. And they never got that. We love Charlie Ward. We love Chris Childs, right? I'm not going to say we love Derek Harper, but he was cool, right? Nah, he was cool. I don't think we would say that. But, you know, those guys just never really, to me, was good enough to get us over the hump. And then they waited a little too long if you're going to trade Ewing, right? Of course, Checkers and Grunfeld didn't do it, but if you were going to trade Ewing, they should have did the Shaq trade, right? I feel like, you know, holding on to Ewing and then not really giving him what he needed to be successful was also a hindrance to both of them. Maybe Ewing would have got a championship if they moved them, or maybe we would have got the championship if they would have moved them sooner. But besides the Shaq trade, I don't know who it would have been for, but I'm just saying, like, things they could have done differently in mismanagement just off the top of the head based on what we were talking about. But I'm leaning more so towards mismanagement. What do you guys in the chat see? I think a lot of you people agree with us with the mismanagement, man. I think that mismanagement. Hold on, he said that I heard they were trying to trade for James Worthy in '92. How we go from that to Charles Smith? Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. That is funny. That is funny. Is funny. Charles Smith, who he wasn't bad. He just wasn't good. Wasn't bad, but he just wasn't good. But I think that's all for this. Before we head out, definitely I'm going to thank everybody for watching the show. Hopefully, you guys learned something. I learned some things. Definitely some new perspective. I changed my mind. You see, I'm the level-headed Knicks fan, the objective Knicks fan. I'm always willing to change my mind when new evidence is presented. And these brothers did a great job. I want to thank Trav. I want to thank Ron for coming and blessing us. I'll start with you, Ron. Let the people know what you got going, where they can find you. I mean, a lot of these guys are on your chat anyway. These guys know who you are, but still, to the ones who don't know who you are, still Knicks fans in the building, please let these guys know more about a little bit about your platforms and where they can find you and connect with you.
Definitely. Thank you once again, brother, man. Listen, I took a liking to your content. Like you said before, we connected on TikTok, and then
Yes.
At the time I'm not even thinking too much about it, but then it allowed me to see your channel, see your page, and go to YouTube and check out what you're actually talking about. And I've enjoyed it ever since I've started listening to you. So thank you for the opportunity to chop it up with you. I enjoyed myself, and obviously I will reciprocate and get you on Still Knick Fans when we can, set something up. I would love to actually have you on the Monday show because the Monday show is a little bit more, I like to say it's more of, more of intimate conversation where, it's usually just either 2 or 3 people and we can just kind of really go back and forth and bounce ideas off of each other. And so, I definitely want to have you on when I'm able to have, the full show with John's available.
Okay.
And even it would be nice even if Jose is available. He's our guy that we have behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know, haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, I haven't seen Jose. Okay.
Yeah, he's actually been on paternity leave with his new baby, so he'll be back very soon.
Congrats.
But we were on Monday nights at 9 p.m. and Saturdays at 11:30. Both shows, like I said, the Monday shows SKF Weekly. It's more of a more intimate conversation, but Saturday's show is open panel. So if there's people that are here watching that have takes and want to be heard, Saturday's show is open panel, so you can come up and chop it up with me, man. We'll talk about anything and everything Knicks, and we love the opportunity to have a good conversation. Once again, thank you for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure, and it also a pleasure, with the big dog over here talking sports. I enjoyed the conversation, man.
Yeah, like
appreciate
it. I just subscribed to your channel, by the way, too.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Salute, man. So yeah, but before you go, Trav, Ron, pleasure is definitely
mine.
Man,
I
appreciate you. Hold on, let me just get this out, Trav. I got you next. I just want to say, Ron, I appreciate you, connected with me. We still doing the show Monday. We still gonna do that one Monday? At 9, or you want to reschedule that?
I just want to give it a little bit more time because I want to make sure John is available.
Okay.
Because I want us to have a really good conversation. So
yeah, no problem. Whenever you're ready, we could always schedule that. But definitely, guys, look for me to be on Ron's Still Knicks Fans channel. More collaborations. I'm always down to work with good people. Good like Ron always says. Like he said, I want to work with the people who got the good content, not just anybody. So we want work with people who they know what they're doing, that they have good points, great conversation, great content. So definitely, I appreciate you, Ron. Trav, let's go. Big Dog Talk Sports. Make sure you subscribe to him. Let the people know what you about, what you got going. Anything you want to share with the people, Trav?
Nah, man. I talk about basketball, football. I'm a 49ers guy in football. But I grew up a 90s Knicks fan, so I was happy, objective Knicks fan, invited me to get on this panel. I love the New York Knicks of the 90s. Now the 2000s it got dark, but I love the 90s Knicks. And Knicks fans, I got a lot to look for, man, with Jalen Brunson and what Tom Thibodeau got going on. So I got a lot to be excited about. I'm ready for the basketball season, but I'm ready for football season. That's coming up next, preseason. And I'll be talking about a lot of football, in this coming time. So shout out to everybody.
Definitely, Trav. Thanks to you, man, for coming through. Hopefully I see you tomorrow on our other show that we do.
Right.
But
and Trav, you got another subscriber on my end too, brother.
There you go. Connecting the dots. That's what this is all about, man. Thank you, Trav. Thank you, Ron. Thank you to everybody, watching the show. Thank you to all the people that subscribe. Salute to all the mods. Salute to everybody. This was another great show. Definitely tell a friend to come check us out, especially if you're a Knicks fan and you love this Knicks content. If you love to talk about more things than this Knicks, go to check out Big Dog Talk Sports. And that's all for this pod. So until next time, let's go Knicks. All right.